And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jernigan versus Coffin, step forward, please.
Airplane production controller Brenda Jernigan is suing her boyfriend's daughter, 23-year-old administrative assistant Crystal Coffin, for an unpaid loan to pay bills.
Miss Jernigan, I assume that this is your boyfriend.
Yes, it is.
And this is his daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that you made a loan to Miss Coffin,
Yes,
your
ma'am.
boyfriend's daughter, in the amount of $2,000, that she's made some payments on the loan, but she still owes you a little over $1,700. Miss
Correct.
Coffin said she's never borrowed any money from you. She took some money that her father gave her, but she doesn't owe you anything. So tell me about this loan.
Okay, John and I have known each other for almost 5 years now. He is Crystal's father. We moved in together in September of 2000, and soon after that, in December, I decided to loan Crystal $2,000.
Well, tell me how that came about.
John kept getting numerous phone calls from Crystal about getting behind on her car payments and the rent and the electric bills and the water bills. So he didn't have the money at the time, so I decided that I would loan it to her. It took me a couple of weeks to decide.
Just a minute. At what point did she have a discussion with you, if ever?
I did talk with Crystal sometime around the second week in December of 2000, and she just told me that she needed to get up to date on her car payments. She asked me if I could loan her some money, and I finally agreed a couple of weeks later to do so, and that's when her dad called her.
Why didn't you call her?
Because he decided he wanted to handle things with his daughter.
Fine, step up. What's your last name?
Coffin.
Mr. Coffin, then you had a conversation with your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say to her?
I told Crystal that Brenda could let her borrow $2,000, and that would help her pay her credit cards off.
What did she say to you?
Get caught up. She told me that would be fine if I could get it to her as soon as possible. So we went down. Brenda took the money out of her account. I took the money, took it into the bank in South Carolina, and deposited it into my daughter's North Carolina account.
Is that about right, Miss Coffin?
No. I called my father and asked him if he could give me some money because the house bills were past due. I could not afford to keep the house bills caught up because I was trying to keep my own bills, my car payment, and my credit cards caught up.
Well, whose house is it?
It's his house. Well, a house he rents in his name.
What do you mean he rents in his name?
I live there, but the house lease is still in his name.
But you live there?
Yes, ma'am.
With whom?
My younger sister.
How old is she?
She is currently 21.
Okay. So he moved out of the house and told you that you could stay in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left the two girls in the house, and what was the arrangement with regard to the rent?
Well, I was still paying the rent at the time I moved out.
When did you stop?
Probably a year later.
So you paid the rent on the house
And the
for a
electric
year
bill. And
while your
water
two
bill.
girls were living there?
Yes.
And when did you decide to stop paying the rent?
I got a job in South Carolina, moved to South Carolina. My son moved in with the girls, and they said they would take care of the bills.
So far, is that correct, Miss Coffin?
No, ma'am. My brother actually lived with my father for several months before he moved home. My father called me and asked me, will you call your brother and ask him to come help you? And I said yes. He was still giving money for the rent, but he stopped, and I took over paying the rent.
Okay, well, that's fine. You were living there?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So they were your bills. At that point, your father hadn't been there in some time.
Right.
And he had, in fact, paid the rent and the bills for a period of time, even when he wasn't living there.
Up to a point, yes, ma'am.
But then he said, now you kids are grown-ups. You're over 21. You're on your own. Pay your own bills.
Right.
And you got behind.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead. Let me hear the rest.
I asked him if he could afford to send me some money to help get caught up on the bills that were past due. He said that he would see what he could do. If he could come up with the money in some way, he would. He called me back and said that he was able to come up with $2,000 and that he would deposit the money into my account and that it should hit sometime the next afternoon.
Are you telling me, Miss Coffin, that you never had a conversation with Miss Jernigan about money?
I had a conversation with Miss Judy. Yes, ma'am.
And what was the conversation?
She asked me to list all the bills that I was behind on and to tell her which ones I thought were the most important. And I said, well, the only bills I'm really concerned about you needing help with from my father are the house bills because the other bills are my bills. They're
all your bills. You live there. So you have to pay your rent. Now, what I want to know is, one gets the sense that you fully understood that your father didn't have this money, that the $2,000 was coming from Miss Jernigan. And I say that because you had a conversation with her about how much money you needed and what you needed the money for. But for the fact that you thought that perhaps she could help you with that money, why would you discuss your financial matters with a stranger?
My father asked me to talk to her about it.
Why?
Because he was going to try to get the money from her, and she wanted to know where the money was going and what it was for.
Okay. So you understood that your father didn't have the money, and that if you were going to borrow the money, it was going to be from her.
I didn't borrow the money from her.
Why would she give you money?
I understood that he was going to get the money from her to give to me.
According to Miss Jernigan, she's not even asking you for any interest. She received $230 from you. You have a balance of $1,770.
Yes.
You have a note there, Miss Jernigan, that you indicate in your complaint that the defendant sent you sometime in 2002.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. It says, sorry about all the delays. I will try to send something every month from now on. Love, Crystal.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
That was last summer, I believe June or July of 2002. Brenda's mother had passed away, and my father came down for the funeral. He told me that she was emotionally distraught because of all of the bills that had accumulated while she was not able to work, while she was taking care of her mother, and that she was giving him a little bit of a hard time about not having made any payments to her. And he came to me at work and said, I need you to give me some money so that I can give Brenda some money, just so that she'll feel a little bit better.
Good. That's a good thing that you gave her the money because you took it from her. And your apology is very clear. Sorry about all the delays because you didn't feel like following through. You owe her the money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,770. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was a little shocked that the judge saw it the way that she did.
If I'd have had the money, I would have loaned it to her.
My father is trying to make me responsible for his debt.
I was trying to help Crystal out in a time of need.
I'm thankful that my father was able to help me out in my time of need.
I would love to see all three of us get, but I don't know if that can happen.
This woman and I have nothing further to say or see each other for any reason.
I love my daughter to death, and I always will.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sims versus Cruz. Step forward, please.
Serviceman Billy Sims is suing the daughter of his late father's girlfriend, 21-year-old Christina Cruz. Billy says Christina stole a cell phone off of his father's dead body.
Mr. Sims, your father passed away in June of this year?
That's correct, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, he passed away. He had a heart attack in his car.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And the defendant was in the car with him, along with her boyfriend?
I'm not exactly sure if she was either in the car or if she was following behind him in another vehicle, but they were traveling together.
How did they know each other, do you know?
The defendant's mother had a relationship with my father.
Is that right? So your mom and his dad...
We're dating.
When his father had the heart attack, were you in the car with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh. And this is all about a cell phone.
That's correct.
Because it is your claim that the defendant took your dad's cell phone after he had the heart attack and died.
Yes, Your
in
Honor.
their presence
Yes,
in the
Your
car.
Honor.
And Ms. Cruz says that she has the cell phone, but that he gave it to her.
Okay.
June what did your father pass away?
It was June the 18th of this year, Your Honor.
What time?
I have a copy of his death certificate.
May I see it, please?
Sure. The coroner put his time of death at about 2:30 p.m. Of course, the...
Okay. Did there ever come a time when you got property that was on his person at the time that he died?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
The following day, on the 19th, that morning, the county coroner called me and my brother to come and get his personal effects. Now, we had to get his vehicle.
Okay. What personal effects did you pick up?
Okay, I picked up his wallet, his checkbook.
Okay, wallet. Was there anything in the wallet?
His identification and some of those things.
Any cash?
There was no cash in his wallet, Your Honor.
Do you know where your father was going on the 18th of June?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. He was doing, my father was retired. He spent most of his time just doing yard work for people, doing handyman jobs really for little or no pay. and he was assisting the defendant's mother on doing some of this work.
Okay. When was the last time you had spoken to your father from the cell phone?
The morning before his death, probably maybe about an hour or an hour and a half before his actual death.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He called me twice, Your Honor.
From his cell phone. Prior to that, for what period of time had your father had this cell phone?
He's probably had the phone almost 2 years. He's had this cell phone, Your Honor.
And is that the phone that he uses primarily for his communication with you?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, now, Ms. Cruz, it is your claim, your defense, and you say you do have the phone, and you did use the phone, but that it was a gift to you.
Yes, Honor.
Now, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events when Mr. Sims' dad picked you up, because that's what happens. He picked you up along with this person?
Yeah.
Who was this
my
person?
Witness. Oh, that's my boyfriend.
So let me hear. He came and picked you up at your mom's home?
No, he came over my house and picked us up, and we were going to go swimming. But first, we were going to do some stuff for my mama.
Okay. Now tell me about the cell phone.
And he took me and my boyfriend to the side. And
To
said,
the side of what?
of his truck.
Yes.
And said, y'all are like my kids and everything, and I'm going to give you my cell phone. Well, we have a deal. You pay me $50 a month. And we agreed on it. All three of us agreed on it.
Just a second. So you're saying he took you from the side of the truck and said, you're like my kids,
Yes, Your Honor.
and I want you to have my cell phone. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he have another cell phone?
No, he had
He just had that one cell phone?
just that one and the house phone.
Well, but he had the cell
Yeah.
phone. That was his cell phone.
Yeah.
And as long as you knew him, he had only used that cell phone. Is that right?
Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
that right? So on that day, he said to you, you're like my kids, I want you to have the cell phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
Liar! You're a liar.
There was other witnesses
Bald-faced liar. You took his cell phone off his dead body.
No, he
and you
was not
probably also took the cash out of his wallet before the police got there. Not a question in my mind. Why would a man, unless he anticipates his own death, who has used a cell phone for 2 years to communicate with the rest of the world, all of a sudden take you and this person who was sitting over here and say, I want you to have my method of communication? Why in the world would he do that? You're like my kids. If you're like my kids, then he goes and buys you a cell phone and said, here's a cell phone.
No, because he got tired of carrying it around and everything.
It was too heavy. It was too, just a minute. Please do me a favor. Put your hand down. I don't have to listen to that baloney anymore. It's baloney. Could I please see the expenses that you are claiming for the cell phone?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did they use it, by the way?
Yes, Your Honor. They used it. Those 3 days, there were approximately about 400 minutes that were used. And I have those.
Well, just a minute. How much was the cost?
The total cost for the cell phone minutes, it was 35 cents a minute. I don't have that itemized. But
Well, just a minute. Did you ever get a bill from them for this?
yes, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see the bill that you got.
This has the outstanding minutes that he had left over in excess that we had to terminate because it could have been transferred over to his next of kin. That's what the first statement says. That's from the wireless people.
No. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Sims. Listen to me. What you're saying is he had sort of credits, that it didn't cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars because they took the phone, but that you as his beneficiary or next of kin could have used those minutes if you wanted to from his cell phone plan. Is that
Yes,
what your
yes,
plan
Your
is? Get a life. Where's the phone?
We don't have it anymore.
What'd you do with it?
The guy that was staying with him, Billy, his daddy, took it. And it's my brother.
Your Honor, there was no one staying with my father. He lived alone. But we asked her the Friday when we first found out that she was the one that had the phone. When she returned the phone call, she said that we were not going to get the phone back, that she got to the phone before we did, and that he's dead, and she's just as entitled to it as...
Let me tell you something. Some people will be happy, productive, moral people their whole lives, and they will raise, hopefully, happy, productive, moral offspring. And some will not. We're not talking about a lot of money, but we are talking about those people who have the capability of being moral people and those who lack the capability of being moral people. Yes, we're talking about a $40 phone bill, which you're going to get, and let's say your father really had a state-of-the-art telephone. A really good one costs $150, is that right?
Yes,
really
Your Honor,
good
it's
one?
on the estimate.
$150 plus 40 is $190. You don't get paid for the minutes, right? And I want you to, you have to feel sorry for them. I want you to feel sorry for them. Don't be angry with them. They're never going to be able to get smarter. They're never going to get morals that anywhere relate to what civilized people do. Because anybody that could take property off a dead person, which is what they did, will never change. Because I don't believe that anybody, your father's age, drives a car and rides around with not a dollar in his wallet.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I don't believe that that happens. That doesn't happen. So if you're a debt scavenger, you're never going to change. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $190. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We didn't took it. He gave us it.
There are people in this world that are going to act that way, so instead of being angry, pity them, and that's what I do.
I felt sorry too because he died on me.
I'm very happy with the judge's decision, and I'm glad that we can finally put this part of my father's life to rest.
21-year-old assembly operator Monique Betker is suing the father of her son, 26-year-old machine technician Robbie Schwant, for the return of her furniture and for breaking her nose. Robbie is countersuing for car rims he inherited from his deceased brother.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 206 on the calendar in the matter of Betker versus Swant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Betker, you and the defendant lived together for a couple of years, well over a year ago.
Yes.
And you have a child together. How old is the child?
Almost 2.
And it is your claim that the defendant owes you for furniture that he has that you believe was either yours or at least both of yours, and for an assault that you say he perpetrated upon you, causing you to have a broken nose and substantial medical bills. Mr. Schwant says that the furniture was his, and he says that you started the fight that resulted in whatever injury you had. As a matter of fact, the charges in that case, he says, were dismissed because you acknowledged to the court that you hit him first, and he is counterclaiming for something about his deceased brother's car rims, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, tell me about the separation in August of 2001.
He got possessive. I switched shifts to second shift, different plant. He accused me of cheating on him. I went out one evening after work with a couple of friends, and I come home the next day because I was too drunk to drive, and the door locks were changed.
Where was your child at the time?
My mother.
Is that when this incident happened that caused you to have a broken nose?
Yes, because I went the next day to receive my belongings, and we started arguing. He kept following me around the apartment. I noticed most of my stuff was broken.
So what happened?
I started packing up my clothes, and he was yelling at me, calling me obscene names, and he called me a word I didn't really like, and I threw a burp rag at him, and he come at me with a fist.
Threw a what?
A burp rag.
Yeah.
And then he punched me in my nose.
Your Honor, that's...
I'll let you tell the story.
Yes, sir.
And what happened next?
I called the cops. I have a copy of the police report.
Okay. I'd like to take a look at it. Now, can you explain to me why you waited a year? Forget the incident involving your broken nose for a second, or this has bloody nose. You'll show me the bills later. Because I assume you went through a criminal proceeding?
I never actually went to court, Your Honor.
Really?
While I was in jail, the judge had reviewed the case and dropped all charges against me.
Do you have a report on that? Do you have any
No,
paperwork
Your
on
Honor.
that? How long were you incarcerated?
For 2.5 days.
Okay. What furniture do you claim that he has that belongs to you?
My living room set, my bedroom set, and other small belongings, which
All
I
right,
have
let's
a
start
list.
with living room set and bedroom set. Who bought it?
My mom bought the living room set. I bought the bedroom set.
Is that right?
The living room set, her mother gave both of us
Yeah.
while we were together.
Okay.
The bedroom set she did have before we even got together.
So why didn't you give him back to her?
She took my son, and then over the next 2 months I wasn't able to see my son, so I had no contact with her whatsoever. And then later when I moved out, then she had more than ample time to come get her stuff. I had talked to her, so I ended up putting her stuff in storage at my own expense because I didn't have the heart to just leave it in the apartment and let it be taken.
So where is it now?
They're at my apartment.
Okay. She wants him back.
Well, the problem with that is I was given joint custody for my son.
I don't care. I don't care. The living room set and the bedroom set she wants back. Get it back to her.
Your Honor, she owes me several $1,000s.
For what?
For the tires and rims, for...
Just a minute. We're going to get to your complaints. I'm talking about things, not money. She has to get back the living room set and her bedroom set. They're hers. What else?
There's a list of Beanie Babies, some clothes. I've tried numerous of times to get my stuff back, and he come get it. Oh, don't come get it. Come get it.
Do you have her stuff? Someplace?
I have some of it at my apartment, some of it at my parents' house, and a lot of it I've given back to her already.
Okay. Whatever you have a child together?
Yes.
Do you share custody? I assume
yes.
Now at this point you share custody. So it's a very good idea to maintain nice relations with her.
I've been
Pleasant.
trying, Your Honor.
Very good. So pack up all the stuff in boxes. Tell her where she should go to pick them up. You live close to your parents?
No.
No. Your Honor, she's
What?
had more than enough ample time over the last year. I've told her several times
Listen!
to come get the stuff.
But what are you doing with it?
A lot of it was sitting in storage for 5 months.
Fine,
while
but
she
now
had
it's still
chance to-
there. Mr. Schwantz, I don't understand you, sir. Now it's there. You said you have some of it at your house, you have some of it at
Correct.
your parents' house, right?
Yes.
Get it together and give it back to her. Are you telling me that it's being used?
Yes, it's being used in
What-
my home, which I'm providing for my son when I have him half the time.
Mr. Schwant, I want you to understand my words. The bedroom set and the living room set are going back to the plaintiff.
Yes, Your
Do
Honor.
you understand? That is the order.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. As far as the other things are concerned, physical things, put them in boxes, and she's going to pick them up. And I'm going to suggest, Mr. Schwant, that if you don't want to be an immature baby, you put them in boxes, wrap them up nicely, store them nicely, so that you don't have any quarrel with her. Because you have a child who's 2 years old, and for the next 16 years, you're going to have to get along with each other. So don't make a mountain out of a Beanie Baby. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Then don't speak anymore. Now, you want to tell me? He says that it wasn't just a throwing of a rag in his face, that you slapped him first. Is that true?
That's false.
Want to tell me what happened?
We had gotten into an argument.
That I know.
Okay. The argument got heated. I called her, and she turned around and she had a rag in her hand and hit me with her hand. And after
The rag in it.
Yes, with the rag. She was holding it in her hand. She hauled off and slapped me across the face.
Slapped you. And what did you do to her?
I turned around and I slapped her back.
Slapped her or punched her?
Slapped.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her mother gave you the living room set.
Gave to both of us, Your Honor.
Didn't make any difference who you were. If she had chosen Bird, she would have still given her a living room set.
And later today,
She said, purchase me 2 tickets, so I did.
For Britney Spears concert.
He didn't tell me in Indianapolis until he wanted me to pay for them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monique Betker says the father of her son, Robbie Schwant, assaulted her, breaking her nose. Robbie says Monique hit him first.
Well, could your slap have caused her a broken nose?
Possibly.
Okay.
I'd never seen any reports of anything,
Well,
no
let me
doctor
see.
bills.
Let me see. Where did it say you had a broken nose?
They couldn't find that paper, but it does say that I
It
had a
doesn't
fractured
say. It
nose.
says nose possible fracture. It says headaches, whatever, and it says nose injury, possible fracture. And you declined x-rays, is that right?
I did a couple weeks after that.
You have the results of those x-rays?
No, I don't.
Well, then I can't help you. If you slapped him and he slapped you back, unless I have proof that he overreacted, reports don't indicate that you had any more than a bloody nose. Okay, 5 days. You got the order. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is something about your deceased brother's rims. I'm ready to hear you, Mr. Schwant.
Before my son was born, while she was still pregnant with my son, we purchased together, but in her name, a 97 Ford F-150. My brother, who is deceased now, had some tires and rims that were on his truck that was similar, only a year newer. The truck was going to be repossessed by the bank. The bank wouldn't let us take over the payments on it, so we had these rims that we had nothing to do with. So we put them on the F-150 that me and her had got, with the understanding that if anything happened between us, the rims were to be returned.
Go ahead.
Okay. When she left, she took the truck with her, and I asked for the rims back, and she refused to give them back.
Yes.
And she still refused to give them back up until the time the vehicle was repossessed.
And?
And...
So?
Well, they belonged to me. They were one of the last things that I have of my brother, who died 2 years ago.
You mean it's like a class ring? His rims for his car is like a class ring?
No, but it's a remembrance of my brother, who's deceased now.
That's what I didn't get from your counterclaim, sir, that the rims had sentimental value to you.
Yes, they did, Your Honor.
Mr. Schwant, if you were old enough to make a child, you're supposed to be mature enough to make reasonable judgments. To even come into a courtroom and suggest that tire rims are a sort of sentimental symbol of your brother that she took away when she took your truck, and you want her to somehow, and the truck is repossessed.
Yes.
Right? So that she doesn't have the rims anymore.
Right.
So you want her to give you money, and that somehow will make you feel better, that you'll have the money to look at that will remind you of your brother.
I never wanted any of this back until she brought this upon me. The only thing I wanted...
Just a second! You have her stuff. You have her things.
Yes.
The rims for the car are not yours. You neither purchased them, they were not bequeathed to you.
Yes, they...
No, they weren't. Show me a copy of the will where your brother left you his rims.
He didn't have a will.
All right. They were not bequeathed to you. They were sitting on a car that was going to be repossessed. You put it on a car that was in her name. And she left with the car. Period. End of discussion. This is her furniture. According to you, she came into the relationship with the bedroom set, and her mother gave you the living room set. That's hers. Her
Gave
personal
to both
property.
of us, Your Honor.
Sir, you had nothing to, you were just a thing. Do you understand? She would have given it to her daughter and the person, the other significant person in her daughter's life, irrespective of who that person was. She wanted her daughter to have a living room set to live on. Didn't make any difference who you were. Don't you understand that? Didn't make any difference.
No, I don't understand that, Your
It's
Honor.
very, very easy, sir. If she had chosen, who is this person?
This is my brother. He's here as a witness.
Very good. If she had chosen your brother to have a child and a relationship with instead of you, her mother still would have given her the living room set. That's all I'm saying to you. So it didn't make any difference who you were. If she had chosen Bird, she would have still given her a living room set. Didn't make any difference who you were. Do you get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. And so, but the bottom line is, what I'm telling you, is that you have a 2-year-old child together. We're talking about things, easily replaceable. She may not have done the right thing, and I'm not saying she did the right thing, because I'm telling you right now, if she leaves her child with her mother and goes out drinking or partying with friends and doesn't come back all night, and you change the locks on the apartment where you're living, that means that she has done an immature, stupid thing. Because when you have a young baby, you don't go out and play all night. You understand?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. You understand? So I'm not saying she's Miss Goody Two-Shoes. You have to
Yes, Your Honor.
understand. But you share custody with her. And if we're talking about things, Beanie Babies, I mean, what a mother of a 2-year-old child wants to do with Beanie Babies, I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue. But you picked her.
Right.
You have to deal with it. So get her stuff together and give her stuff back to you and stop being a big baby over ribs. As far as the broken nose was concerned, I don't see
Your
any
Honor.
proof of a broken nose.
Your Honor.
What?
Can I add some things? As far as me, you mentioned that I was being a baby.
Yeah.
I think I've been more than an adult about this whole thing. I initially took her to court for custody of my son. I've had my child support taken completely out of my check, so I never have to even deal with it. It's always paid up.
Good.
I fought her for over a year to get joint custody, and she still refused to have my name even on the birth certificate.
Tell you something. You picked her.
Right, and that was my mistake.
You
but
picked
I've got
her.
a beautiful son out
You
of it.
picked her.
Right.
If you picked a baby to have a baby with, if she's acting inappropriately, you're living with your mother?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
Good. Your mother helps you take care of the baby?
She helped when I take the baby to the babysitter, and then she'll pick him up.
When she's not at the bar.
Not smart. The fact that she's at a bar, if she is at a bar, if she does play, if she is not being totally responsible for your son, that's a terrible thing.
It is, Your Honor.
Terrible, terrible, terrible thing. But you have to live with it.
Right.
And if you're going to give her a zinger, what's going to happen is, at some point, she's going to make it difficult for you. You're going to make it difficult for her. Then it's going to be up to some family court judge to make a decision as to where your child goes. And you never know. You may get a good judge, somebody who'll look at the situation and say, listen, parents are equal. Mother, father. He's the more responsible parent. She's a barfly, irresponsible. And I'm going to award this child to the father because that's where the child's best interest would be served. And then again, you may get some idiot, and there are a lot of them out there, who say, well, mothers are still 100% entitled to their child unless they beat them, unless they scald them. Little children always should be raised by their mother. There are still people that feel that way.
Right.
And some of them happen to be judges. So you may not be lucky enough to get somebody who's fair.
Yes, Your Honor.
So what I'm telling you is don't be a fool. Be careful. She's still the mother of your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. That's all. What?
There is one other thing. There's a matter of storage fees for the furniture that I'm giving back to her for 5 months worth.
What were they?
$372 altogether.
What else did you have in there?
Just her belongings and my son's.
Did you use your son's belongings?
Not at that time. They were.
But you're using them now?
Yes. But I think she should, still be liable for the storage fees. I paid the storage at my expense so she wouldn't lose her furniture, Your Honor.
When did you tell her she could have her furniture?
Off and on throughout the whole year that I had this stuff.
Is that right?
Several
It would be,
times.
come get it. I'd call him, I'm coming to get it. No, don't bother to come get it because you're not going to get it. I'm not giving you
That's
nothing.
not correct, Your Honor.
My mother has even asked for it.
You have at best $150. They half the storage because there was other stuff in there that's not property that is solely hers. You're not talking about a lot of money, Mr. Schwant. Do you understand?
Right.
You understand? You're talking about principle.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm telling you to grow up.
I'm trying, Your Honor.
You're not trying hard enough, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that she's a gold digger. She used me for what she could get.
I go to the bar maybe once a month, if that.
Left after I caught her cheating on me.
Stay away from men like that.
Stay away from her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mills versus Walton. Step forward, please.
Staffing consultant Denise Mills is suing her ex-boyfriend, consultant Gary Walton, for several unpaid loans. Gary is countersuing, claiming Denise destroyed his car engine.
Miss Mills, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. You claim a series of loans to him. Some of the loans had to do with towing expenses for a car. You're going to tell me about that in a minute. The defendant has a counterclaim because he said the same car that got towed had to have an engine replaced, and that was your fault. He wants you to pay for a new engine, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So how long did this romance last? When did it start? When did it end?
Your Honor, it started August of 2000 and it ended October 2001.
And when was the first loan, Miss Mills?
The first loan was in February of 2001 to help cover his rent for $300.
And that's a lie.
Listen, I want you to answer me only when I either look at your direction and go, something like that, or ask you a question. But we don't just shout out here.
Gotcha.
Okay. Do you recall the defendant giving you money for rent?
No, Your Honor.
She never gave you any money for rent?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me the circumstances surrounding that, Miss Mills.
Sure. He was a wannabe actor and model, and when times were a little slow for him, he did approach me and asked me, and he was a little embarrassed and stuttered a little bit and asked if he could borrow $300 to cover.
And what did you say? You said he could borrow the $300?
Sure, absolutely.
What was the payment schedule?
He had told me that he had a couple gigs where he was going to be receiving residual checks and that he would be paying me back from those checks.
Okay. When was the second loan?
The second loan was the weekend of June 23rd through the 25th.
Okay, tell me about that.
We had gone to a wedding in Oakland, and he thought he had lost his wallet, and I loaned him $100 spending money and then $400 for the towing of the car.
Okay, that also happened during that weekend. The
Correct.
car towing? All right, tell me about that.
Dang it.
Did I look at you?
No, ma'am, she's lying.
But you're going to have a turn, Mr. Walton. Mr.
I
Walton,
just say being lied upon.
Mr.
You know,
Walton,
I have my name here.
you're going to have a turn. And your turn will come when I say it's your turn.
So for that weekend, I loaned him a total of $500.
No. Just get to. You gave him $100 spending money.
Right, and then
you said that
$400
problem
to
with the car. So
Right.
let's hear.
Right, we're driving home. He's passed out in the back. I decided to drive for a couple hours. We pull over the side of the road. I ask him to start driving. He starts driving. The car dies. So we're sitting on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. When the tow truck gets here, he has no money, and everybody's looking at me. So I was able to lend him the money.
And you have all the receipts for all of these?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Okay. Anything else?
Another loan was made the night of July 21st. We had just attended a friend of mine, her wedding, and he decided he wanted to go to the casino to gamble for a little bit, and he gets there and his ATM card doesn't work. So he told me that, if I lend him $100, he was going to pay me back the following week.
So far, we have $900. Now, according to your complaint, he paid you back a substantial portion of this
Correct.
money. Tell me how much he paid you back.
He's paid me back a total of $520.
Over what period of time?
I'd say between the months of July and February of this year.
Were you giving him money between July and February, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Really? It's like I'm listening to two different worlds here.
She's just upset because she caught me cheating on her.
I'm not interested in that. I'm
so-
just interested in...
She's just upset about that.
Okay. The only thing you have to
Make-believe
tell me
fabricated.
is, Mr. Walton,
$300.
I'd like...
Sorry, Your Honor.
Yeah, like
Where do
I
you
don't
come
have
from?
$380.
Where do you come from?
I'm from Belize.
Is that where you live now?
No, ma'am. I live in California.
Where in California?
Anaheim.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a recruiter, a headhunter.
For?
Accounting and finance professionals.
Okay. What do you do, Mr. Walton?
Business consultant.
What kind of business?
Kind of the same business as her. I'd rather not say exactly what I do. But I do have a job.
I just want to know what you do for a living, sir.
Basically the same thing as she, Your Honor.
Well, what is that? I'd like somebody to explain it to me. Basically, what do you do?
I place accounting professionals in corporations and on a permanent basis.
And he does the same thing?
Do you want me to tell you what he does since he can't tell you?
Well, yeah.
He's the staffing manager. Basically, he works in the healthcare industry, and he places nurses in home care.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me something, Mr. Walton, about your counterclaim.
Basically, everything she just says is a fabricated lie. Secondly, what happened was Miss Mills was nice enough on that date in June to drive the vehicle back. I was tired. One of my buddies just got married. We've been partying all day and all night. Now, I told her that she cannot drive over 65 miles per hour because I have a diesel engine. Diesels burn oil at a faster rate. She says, no problem. Take care of it. Next time we go get gas, we need to stop off, get the oil, put some more oil in, etc. She never stops. And she proceeds to drive over 65 miles an hour. And the only reason why I know this is because when I woke up, I saw the gauge. It basically froze at about 75 miles an hour, and the oil light came on. And I said, I told you not to drive that fast. She knew that we would launch the engine. She seized the engine up because of that. And she says that she would pay for the towing because it was her fault. And she also paid for my engine.
No, Your Honor. No, never.
Liar. God.
Listen, whether she did or whether she didn't, you gave her permission to drive the car. Permission to drive the car because you weren't able to drive the car. It's not that she had borrowed.
No. Don't interrupt. I'm sorry.
It's not that she had borrowed your car, sir. You were supposed to be driving, I assume. You were tired because you'd been partying all night, so you asked her to drive the car. You wanted to be alert enough to watch and make sure that she wasn't driving over 65 or over 70 miles an hour. Stay awake. It's your car. Did you have any money with you that weekend?
Yes, I did. That was just actually a week after my birthday, so I get birthday money and I have a job.
So you had a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, so I don't need money from her.
Now, I believe her when she says that you gave her back money between
gave her money as
July
my
and
girlfriend,
February.
Your Honor.
No, between July and February. You were no longer seeing her, sir.
No, we were still off and on dating, and she knows it.
Well, if you were still off and on dating, did you in fact give her any money during that time?
Not as a payment of a loan.
What'd you give her money for?
Just so she could take her son out, do things like that. Just little recreational things because I love her son. I love the little guy.
Oh.
Miss Mills, you have the bills for the towing?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Can I see them, please? Okay, so it's clear that she paid for the towing, right?
Yes, she did.
Uh-huh. Good. Any other receipts you want to show me?
Your Honor, I just have statements documenting the withdrawals of the cash, the locations of the bank.
Not necessary.
Okay.
I'm just curious as to why you kept such good record of this. You know, $100 here and $300 here.
Well, Your Honor, it's you know, I've never been in a relationship where I've had to give a man money, ever. And when he first approached me, I was very uncomfortable. But because I did love him, I cared about him, and I trusted him, that's why I did it. And I think I'm the type of person, I just like to keep those records because you never know. And this is a perfect example of you never know. I mean, we were having a great relationship.
All right, well, your lawsuit seeks $380, including the towing charge. I do believe you that he gave back some of the money. I'm going to enter a judgment in your favor in the amount requested, $380, and I'm dismissing your counterclaim for the cost of the engine.
That's crap.
Fix it yourself. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's a bold-faced liar.
It's been hell.
I don't need to borrow money from a woman.
Take a look at him. I mean, he's really not worth $380.
She blew the engine. She should have paid for it.
If you've got a man and he's borrowing money from you, obviously he's not a man.
Don't trust a big butt and smile.
Watch your back.
20-year-old deli clerk Stephanie Bartos is suing her former friend, 22-year-old telecommunications salesman Moses Jones, for a series of unpaid loans.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Bartos versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Bartos, you and the defendant had been good friends for a very long time. How many years had you been good friends?
Between 4 to 5.
And you claim a series of loans to him.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, while acknowledging that you gave him some money, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And while acknowledging that you purchased some things for him, said everything that you gave him were gifts, and that you're suing him for a reason that he's going to tell me later. So, when did you make the first loan to him?
February 28th of this year.
Under what circumstances?
That he was to pay me back as soon as possible.
Now, tell me what he said, what you said, what it was for, whether it was cash. Tell me what it was.
Okay, I received a settlement check for an automobile accident, and I picked him up from his home, and he said he had to get some clothes. We got the clothes, shoes, all that stuff, and he stepped outside and he asked me if I could pay for it for him.
Is that what he said? Could you pay for this for me?
If I could do him a large favor.
Yeah.
And if I could pay for it for him.
Why did he want you to pay for it for him?
I do not know.
So what did you
Obviously,
say?
he didn't have money.
So what did you say to him?
I said, under the terms you pay me back. He was my best friend.
Well, you didn't say to him, under the terms you'll pay me back. That doesn't sound like something that comes out of your mouth, Ms. Bartos. So you have to be very careful about what you say to me, because I can usually tell the truth.
Okay.
Okay? He said, he stepped outside and he said, can you pay for this or can you take care of this? You must have said, why? How do you go shopping without money? I mean, that would be normal, even with your best friend. So let's hear what transpired in February of '02. Well, he came outside and said, can you take care of this for me? And what did you say to him?
Sure.
You said, sure.
Under the terms that he was to pay me back, it was a loan. He said, could you loan this to me?
Now you gave me two different scenarios. You said, can you take care of this for me? Can you pay for this for me? And now you say, could you loan me the money to pay for this? Which one was it?
It was a loan. It was a loan.
I'm looking for the words, Miss Bartos. You're not cooperating with me. You're looking to the end result. I am looking for the words that were exchanged. Are you following me?
Yes.
Maybe I'm not going to get the answer from you, so forget it. Mr. Jones, you remember February 28th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the clothes shopping.
I had to get some new clothes. Stephanie was a good friend. She wanted to go with me, so we went down to the shop. I actually left my wallet at home that day. That's why I forgot, just running out, getting everything together. She was on her way.
So you left your wallet at home?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I asked her.
What was in your wallet?
My credit card.
So you were intending to pay for the clothes with your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I went to look for my wallet to pay. Didn't have it on me. I said, Stephanie, can you pay for it? She said, sure. And that was that. Well,
did you mention to Stephanie, because you must have mentioned to Stephanie, can you pay for this for me? I left my wallet home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your story?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it doesn't.
want to tell you something. She is so fixed at getting her loan across that she's not paying attention. Maybe she just don't get it. But according to you, that's what happened, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when was the second money that you gave him, madam?
March 8th.
Go ahead.
And he had phoned me a couple days prior. He said that he was in financial debt. He couldn't make rent. He didn't get his promotion through his job. And he asked me if he could borrow some more money. And he said that his only other means was to do something illegal. And I told him, I said, you have a 1-year-old son. You don't want to jeopardize that. And so he came up to my job on March 8th, and I loaned him $1,000 so he would not come up here to L.A. to do something illegal.
How much were his clothes?
A total of $445.47.
So tell me about the $1,000, sir.
I had talked to Stephanie a couple of days prior, and I told her that, you know, I was trying to get a couple of things moving quickly.
Well, I don't know what that means.
Well, I was trying to get a couple of, you know, things that I wanted, and I didn't get my promotion.
I don't understand what you mean. You're trying to get a couple of things that you wanted. What does that mean?
Like, I wanted to buy a new outfit. I wanted to get some stuff. I wanted to just buy some more stuff that I wanted personally for myself. You know, and then I got hit with having to take care of rent at the same time, and I didn't manage it correctly. I had told Stephanie what was going on within my life, and that I had a deal going down, which was not a very honest deal, but I had a deal going down that was roughly about $2,000. And she said, you know what, hey, you know, I'm your friend, I don't want you to do that, you know, I don't want you to put your life in jeopardy. You know, whenever you need something, you can call upon me. You know, I told her, I was like, hey, you know, I don't know when I'll be able to, you know, have this money again. I don't know what, you know.
What does that mean? I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I'll be able to have this money again. What does that mean, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I don't know when.
You don't know when you'll be able to pay her back. Is
Yeah,
that what
for
you
that.
meant? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back.
Right.
And what did she say?
She said, don't worry about it. You know, you're my friend. Here you go. And she just wrote the check to me.
Okay. And what was the next amount of money that you claimed that you loaned to him, Miss Bartos?
We went the next week, we went to tattoo parlor, and he wanted to get a tattoo on his right upper arm with his son's name, and I paid for it under the pretenses he was to pay me back.
Okay, Miss Bartos, that I'm not even entertaining. The tattoo. Do you understand? If you're dumb enough
I'm not
to
done.
give, yes you are.
No.
If you're dumb enough to give him money for clothes, if you're dumb enough to give him $1,000 because you say he was going to be evicted, then you don't indulge him in paying for a tattoo with his son's name on it and expect to get paid. Not from me, because that's the height of stupidity. Now,
But he was to pay me back with his income tax return.
I don't care what you say. I don't believe that. Who is this person?
My father.
Even your father understands that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo.
And later today,
My tools.
I'm not interested in your tools that were in the car, sir. Mr. Green, do I look stupid to you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Bartos says former friend Moses Jones owes for several unpaid loans. Moses says he never agreed to pay.
Somebody has already borrowed almost $1,500 from you because he needed it. The first thing he needed were clothes. The second thing he needed was money so that he wouldn't get evicted. Somebody who needs money so that they're not going to get evicted doesn't spend a couple of $100s to get a tattoo on his arm. And if you are not stupid, then you say to him, Mr. Jones, you have a lot of debt. You don't need a tattoo on your arm.
Well,
so I'm not paying for that, whether you say you're going to pay me back or not pay me back.
Well, initially, I went there to get a tattoo on my back shoulder of my daughter's name. And he sat down, and the tattoo was already started. He didn't have the money, so I went with his friend to go get the money. The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo. You understand what I'm saying?
Order.
Okay. Shh. Then you find out, because you called him, and you find out that he got married. Is that right?
Yes.
Because that's his defense. He says, you're really mad about all these things because this very best friend of yours had gotten married 2 years before and didn't tell you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How come you neglected to tell your very good friend that you got married, sir?
Well, that's a weird situation that happened.
That's not weird.
It is weird if I were to get into the details about it, but you know, it's a situation that I wasn't very comfortable with, and I was in the process of a separation. That's why.
Well, you weren't separated at the time you got married.
No, I wasn't.
Right.
But
So
when I got married, me and her weren't even really talking. There was a 2-year gap where we didn't even talk.
So, but then somebody picked up a phone, somebody met in the street and whatever, and you say, hi, how you doing? No, good, how are you doing? Anything happening? What's doing? Yes, I got married.
Right.
But you didn't say that.
No, because...
Did you say that? Did you tell her you were married when you took the $1,000 from her?
No, I was...
Were you living with your wife at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And I was there. I've gone there before.
All right, Ms. Bartos, despite yourself and in spite of yourself and your testimony, Mr. Jones has cooked his own goose because Mr. Jones testified that he was intending to pay for his... Stop smiling, it's irritating. Mr. Jones has indicated that he was intending to pay for these clothes, but for the event of the lost wallet or the left home wallet, he was going to pay for his clothes. So what, you keep shaking your head no. You're so thick and so fixed in your position that you're not paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
Then try to pay attention. Which indicates that he had intended to pay for his own clothes, which would have been very natural for him to say, I left my wallet home, could you cover this for me, and I'll pay you back. Not I left my wallet at home, so would you buy these clothes for me because I don't have my wallet, and I'm not going to pay you back. That's what he said, because he's not too swift. And as we come to the $1,000, I also believe, based upon his testimony, that he led you to believe that he was going to pay you back at some unspecified time. Because according to him, he said, I don't know when I can pay you back. And you said, that's all right. But the intention was to pay you back. And that's what you relied on. So I'm entering a judgment in your favor for those two loans. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,445. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He lied to me. He had been married, never told me.
You know, I don't feel it was a betrayal just because I didn't tell her.
He stood up there and blatantly lied.
2-year-old daycare provider Christina Harding is suing her former roommate, 23-year-old real estate agent Charity Zimet, for unpaid rent and bills after she broke the lease.
Order. All rise. All rise, please. Your Honor, this is case number 129 on the calendar in the matter of Harding versus Zimet.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
Ms. Harding, you and the defendant signed a lease for a house.
Yes.
It's a large house. You were the only two people on the lease?
Yes.
You moved into the house with your boyfriend?
Yes.
Boyfriend?
Yep.
Ms. Zimet moved in with her 2 children?
Yes.
And there was someone else living in the house too?
Yes.
Who was that?
Her witness, Jolene.
Ms. Zimet moved out early.
Yes.
And you believe that she should be responsible for the 7 months that was remaining on the lease?
Yes.
Ms. Zimet says that she was forced out because of assaultive behavior by both you and your boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay. When did you sign the lease?
November 1st.
Of what year?
2001.
Did you know each other before you signed the
Yes.
lease? For how long?
Since the 9th grade, about 1994.
So you've known each other a long time?
Yes.
Was there any reason why your 2 names were the only names on the lease?
We were going to move in with another girl that backed out at the last minute, and that's when we had decided to let Jolene move in.
And what about your boyfriend?
He just never signed the lease. It was just between the
Why?
2 of us. I don't know. We just never had put him on it.
But he actually moved in?
Yes.
What was the total rental on the house?
$1,600.
And what was the defendant's responsibility on the lease?
$550.
I'm going to go to you, Miss Emmett. When did problems arise that you say caused you to move out?
Well, problems arose as soon as we moved in. She was, in my opinion, acting jealous over me and Jolene talking. She would slam doors around. She was just not making it comfortable to be there at all. And then every week it seemed like there was something different that happened. You know, at the beginning of January when she shoved me into a gate, which I have a picture of a bruise that she left on my back.
Well, tell me about that. What?
Well, it was New Year's Eve. I happened to leave them at the club, not purposely.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, we were at a dance club.
Who was?
Drinking. All of us. And we all left, and I was supposed to bring 2 people home, which I didn't. Not on purpose. No. Not on purpose. Didn't bring them home, which included Jolene and Archie's sister.
You all went to a dance club.
Right.
You were supposed to take 2 people home.
Right.
Jolene and the boyfriend's sister.
Yes.
You didn't do that.
Right.
You say you didn't do that on purpose.
Right.
Because she was highly intoxicated.
You did it. It was accidental.
Right.
But something happened when you got home.
Right. As soon as I walked out of the garage, she came running at me and pushed me into the gate, and the gate handle left a bruise on my back.
And you say you have photographs of it?
I have a photograph, yes.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I'll get you in a second.
It's hard to see, but you can see.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then the very next weekend, on a Saturday, we were all at the house drinking after the, just having a little party at the house after the bar. And
after what bar?
After just the bar on a Saturday night, you know. We're just,
so you went to a bar Saturday night and you were drinking?
Right, all of us.
And then you came home and you continued to drink?
Right.
Where were your 2 children when all this drinking was going on?
My children were with their father.
Do they live with their father on the weekends?
Well, it was every other weekend.
Go ahead.
And Archie was, you know, intoxicated. He was yelling at his sister. Me and Jolene were sitting in the kitchen, and we just really didn't want to hear it, you know, like yelling and stuff. So I stood up. I said, you know, it's okay. That's all I said. He started cursing at me and proceeded to throw me across the kitchen. And when I got up, I was crying. And when I was walking away, he poured his beer down my hair. I did call the cops, which I have records of that.
You just have a record that you called the police. You don't have a report.
Right. Here's what happened after I called the cops. I was upstairs in my room when I called the cops. And when they got there, I didn't realize I was upstairs, couldn't hear nothing. And then her and all his family came upstairs to ask me if I called the cops, but they said it.
That is not true.
You didn't call the cops, did you?
I'll get to you in a second.
You didn't call the cops, did you? And I didn't realize the cops were standing right down the hallway, so I said no because I didn't, you know, want to say it to them.
All right. So those were the 2 instances that you're complaining about that caused you ultimately to move out.
Them are the 2 biggest ones, yes.
You're Archie.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pour a beer on her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
I figured you did. Why?
Because I thought that she interfered with something that didn't really have to do with her. She was not in the same room like she said she was when my sister and I had gotten into an argument. We were just talking, just how brother and sister normally do. And she came out of the kitchen, started yelling at us, started swearing at us. She started chewing me out, saying I didn't have no business talking to my sister like that. My sister had said some pretty offensive things to some people.
Okay, so she just came out and she was yelling at you.
Yes.
And what did you do?
I asked her if she could please, you know, get away from our conversation. I was talking to my sister. I didn't think she had any business being there. She kept on insisting on trying to get in between us, trying to push us apart from each other. It wasn't getting physical. It wasn't getting very loud. We were just having a few words, and she intervened.
She's
somehow.
intervening in a family situation. So
Yeah.
what did you do?
So I asked her on several
You told me
occasions.
he's asked her to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Move
You
out.
both
Go.
me and
Shh.
I asked her on several occasions to please sit down, please leave us alone. We're trying to talk.
All right, so you asked her, and she didn't.
She did not.
What happened next?
Then she pushed me.
She pushed you. How did she
pushed me
push
back.
you?
She pushed me by my chest like this.
You mean she put her hands on your
Yeah,
chest
she put
and
my
pushed
hands
you?
on my chest, yes.
Yes, and what did you do?
I just dumped my beer on her after that. I got frustrated that the fact that she would not, you know, quit talking to me and my sister. I was trying to have
Did
a
you
conversation
push her
with my
back?
sister. No, I did not. You're right.
You just poured your beer on
I
her.
just poured my beer over her head, yes.
And at that point, you were angry.
I was a little upset.
Put your hand down.
I was a little upset, Your Honor. I was not angry. I work at a high stress level job. I don't get angry.
Archie, was it becoming increasingly unpleasant living in the house with the defendant?
Yes, it was, Your Honor. She.
It was very unpleasant. It was unpleasant for you?
Yeah, it was pretty unpleasant.
Was it unpleasant for you?
Yes.
Good. So that you were not unhappy when she left?
Not necessarily.
Good.
Well, I had tried to work things out with her. I tried to sit
No,
down and
you're not.
talk to her a number
Once she
of
has a fight
times.
with your boyfriend, you're not working things out with her.
It was before that also.
Once she has a fight with your boyfriend, you're not working things out with her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She and our other roommate had brought numerous guys over that we all had baseball bats and shovels and jumped my boyfriend. He ended up going to the hospital with 8 staples in his head.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Harding says former roommate Charity Zymet owes for breaking a lease. Charity says she feared for her safety.
Now, you moved out in January?
Yes. Well, I paid January's rent, full January's rent, but I moved out at the beginning, but I still had some stuff there until the end of January.
Okay. Is that true?
No, she did not move out. She put a padlock on her door, and she would come every day, pick up a little of her stuff, and go.
Well, that's what she says. She says she moved out, but she left her stuff there
Yes,
through
she
the end
didn't
of the month.
officially
And she
move
did
out
pay,
till the end of January.
and she did pay January's rent.
Your Honor, she did not move out. She was there just about every night of the week.
And fine,
last month.
but she paid January.
Yes.
Okay. Come February, is she gone?
Yes, she was gone the end of January. But she had not given me any notice.
If you think that I don't see your hand, I do see your hand. I'm not interested in asking you any questions right now.
Your Honor, I asked her numerous times when I could plan on her moving out so that I could find another roommate.
Okay, so now you know at the end of January she's gone. What did you do to find another roommate?
I had asked her numerous times throughout January when she would be out so that I could find another roommate.
You're not listening to my question.
Your Honor, she was...
I said now you know at the end of January she's out. What did you do then to get another roommate?
I had another roommate set up to move in on March 1st. And she and our other roommate brought numerous guys over that were related to Jolene. And they all had baseball bats and shovels, and they jumped my boyfriend. He ended up going to the hospital with 8 staples in his head. And that caused my roommate not to move in. She was scared to live with us.
And when did that happen?
On February 3rd. I have pictures and hospital reports of what happened.
Was anybody arrested?
No, it's still pending
It's
investigation.
a pending criminal investigation.
So I could not get a police report. It's not been released yet. You're talking to a homicide investigator.
Did she move out too?
No,
after that night, after February 3rd.
Okay.
Earlier that night at the club, she was trying to fight with me. My boyfriend stepped in the middle of us. She broke a beer bottle over the side of his head. And so then the bouncers jumped on her, took her out of there. He was trying to press charges. They said she was going to detox. She showed up at the house within an hour. And then within an hour after that, there was about 8 to 10 guys. They were about to break the window to get in the house when my boyfriend opened the door. They pulled him outside. They all had baseball bats and shovels. He was beaten pretty bad, as you can see in those pictures. His cousin and his sister also ran out there and were pretty beaten up too.
What makes you think that the defendant had anything to do with this?
Because I saw her driving away from there after the guy. She was sitting there on the street in her car when this was all going on. After the police were starting to come, she backed around the corner of the block.
After she supposedly moved out of the house, Your Honor.
You mean on February 3rd?
Yeah.
Yes.
This young lady was with her in the car?
She was in one of the cars. She had gone out the side entrance and she had gotten into a car somewhere else when all this had happened. She must have got in the car before that. When I saw Charity back down the street, she was in the car by herself.
When was the lease up in the apartment?
It's not up until August 31st.
Who's living in the house now?
Just the 2 of us. We have still yet to find a roommate.
Where are you living now?
I own a house. I had just moved out from my kids' father for a short period of time.
Go back. You're living in a house that you own?
Yep.
When did you purchase the house?
August of 2001.
If you purchased the house in August of 2001, what were you living with them for?
There was problems between me and my kids' father, so I decided to move out for a short time.
So you're back in that house now?
Yes.
Who are you living there with?
My children and my kids' father.
Were you at the house? I'm not going to ask any questions about that. That's part of a pending criminal investigation, so I'm not going to ask any questions about where you were on February 3rd.
Your Honor?
What?
I had an apartment with my boyfriend before I decided to move in with her and another friend that was going to be getting a divorce from her husband. and she decided to stay with her husband. We were fine in the apartment we had. I decided I wanted to help her out because she wanted to get away from her kids' father. She was dating my boyfriend's friend at the time, and she wanted to get out of that house. She wasn't planning on going back there.
Okay.
She signed the lease till August 31st.
Did you speak to the landlord before you moved out?
Yes, I did. Quite a few times. He told me he would take me off the lease, and that's where I was renting from.
I never received another lease.
Were you, in fact, removed from the lease?
Well, he kept saying he was...
Not well. The answer is either you were removed from the lease or you were not.
Yes, definitely.
Show me.
I don't have any proof. He lives in another
state. Well, you have no
state.
proof, then it wasn't then. The only lease that I have is the one that you originally signed.
Well, I spoke to him on the phone quite a few times, and he told me that he would take me off, that he did take me off.
I don't listen to what you tell me. That is hearsay. If you have a lease or a document from the landlord that indicates that you were removed from the lease and your obligations under the lease have been terminated, I will see that. You don't have that. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what efforts did you make to try to find a new roommate to assume your responsibilities under the lease?
It was not my responsibility to find a new roommate.
No, whose was it? Bird's? Whose was it?
Well,
you have a lease.
Correct.
You have an obligation under the lease.
Yes.
Ordinarily, I would say that they have an obligation to mitigate their damages.
Well,
which
she told
I'm
me...
speaking. I want you to try to learn something today. Every day should be a learning experience.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Harding says former roommate Charity Zymet owes for breaking an apartment lease. Christina also claims Charity sent friends to beat up her boyfriend, Archie White Eagle.
Listen to me. They have an obligation, if they know that you're moving out, to try to mitigate their damages by finding someone to assume the remainder of your lease. Unless I find that there is some evidence that you and your girlfriend over here have done something that would make it difficult for them to find a new roommate. You also have a responsibility, because if you sign a lease and if you move into a home with the understanding that neither of you could afford this on your own, but together you could afford to maintain a big house like this, then you have a responsibility not only to your landlord, but also to your co-tenant. So I'm asking you, you did not do anything to find another roommate?
Well, she, at first we did agree about a 2-month notice of getting out. Now, I don't know why she's going for the whole lease. I think she's just upset that the person did not move in, which I do not know the person that was going to move in, but Jolene does. She said that she didn't want to move in the first place. She was just saying she was going to move in to be nice. And this is all what she told Jolene. She said she was never planning on moving in.
Then find somebody, and I'm asking you, what efforts did you make to find somebody? And if your answer is simple, you made no effort to find anybody. Is that right?
Correct.
Good. Listen to me. It was not a pleasant situation living there in the house, clearly. Everybody made a mistake, and everybody's got a bad temper. You had no right to pour beer over her head.
Correct.
None. And she had, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, if she was a reasonable parent, which I'm not so sure about, but a lot of drinking going on there, even if her children weren't home.
And her children were there every weekend.
Are you trying to talk over me?
No, I'm sorry.
So I think it's probably a very good idea that she left. Now, are you current in your rent?
Yes.
How are you managing it?
It's really hard.
Do you
I
work?
have tried to start daycare, and I haven't gotten very many children because of the pending investigation, and my boyfriend has been picking up just about most of the rent.
What kind of work do you do?
In security.
Okay, so you've been paying the rent.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved into the house, did you put down security?
Yes.
How much?
I put down 1,000, Charity put down 600, and I have lost that now.
Why?
The landlord said since she moved out, she forfeited her part of it, and...
Oh, no. Don't give me baloney. Security deposit is for any damage that's done. So you don't forfeit that until you move out.
That's just what the landlord said, and I'm going
and you
to
only
fight that
forfeit that if you move out and there's damage to the property. Is there damage to the
Charity
property?
Yes, I have pictures of how she
place
left her room
damaged.
also. Holes in the walls and trash all over.
Well, trash it and clean up.
Yes.
Holes in the walls is different.
Well, we had to pay for that trash to get hauled away also, Your Honor, out of our own pocket.
Arch, is there anything physically wrong with you?
No.
You had to pay somebody to sweep up?
No, I said we had to physically pay to remove all of her trash that she left
When
there.
you say
out of-
physically pay, what does that mean,
We had to pay
Archie?
the trash.
We had to pay the trash bill to have all of that stuff hauled away.
No, that's not a big deal. We're not looking at a big deal here. Listen, Miss Zimet, you skipped out on a lease, and you had no reason to skip out on that lease, as far as they're concerned.
And as far as they're concerned, I guess not. In my mind, I did.
You're not speaking for a very good reason, madam. You're not speaking because there is currently an investigation that is pending with regard to a very serious assault. And I don't want to hear you because I don't want you to inculpate yourself or anyone else in this incident that occurred on February 3rd.
There's other incidences that happen, though.
But I'm not going to let you pick and choose what you want to talk about.
Okay.
Perfect. Now we understand each other? Good. She has a $600 security deposit. I suggest you putty up the walls so that you don't lose that part of the security deposit. She moved out, she paid January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Is that right?
August.
No. August will be covered by her security deposit. I will prepare an order that her security deposit is to be released to you.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
That covers your last month's rent. So it's 6 months at $550 is $3,300.
I also have bills that she didn't pay for December and January.
What bills?
The trash bill of the electric bill, the water bill, and the cable bill.
Good. Consider that paid for by the dumping of the beer over her head. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Very vindicated. Feel that Judge Judy was on her side and that she sided with the correct side and that she made the correct decision.
I don't agree with the judgment.
I will choose my friends and my roommates very wisely from now on.
I think she shouldn't have got anything.
She's been telling people lies about me.
All the lies she said in there?
The things she said in the courtroom that my boyfriend pushed her, that I pushed her. That's not true.
That they didn't push me? That they both didn't push me when they both did?
I've never laid my hands on her.
They're rude. They're physically violent.
It's not true.
Nobody should be friends with her.
I just moved in that house to help her out, and now I'm the one suffering for it.
We weren't that great of friends for 9 years.
Be respectful to Judge Judy. She's pretty okay.
Daycare provider Sandy Brown is suing her son, carpet installer Henry Brown, for bail and household expenses.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 48 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Brown, the defendant is your son.
Right.
Is that right? Are those prescription glasses, sir?
Yes, ma'am, very much so.
Well, would you take them off, please? Because if you have to read anything, I'll let you put them back on. Very good.
They're not for reading, they're for seeing you, Your Honor.
Well, put them back on again for a second, sir. Take a good look. Now take them off. Mrs. Brown, your lawsuit seeks return of money for several things. The first thing is bail money that you claim that you loaned to your son at some point. The second thing is for mortgage payments on a house that you are currently living in. And from what I gather from your complaint, there was some sort of an arrangement that your son would make the mortgage payments on this house. And ultimately, the house would belong to him. You would live in the house, take care of your grandson, your son, correct? And then there was some sort of an altercation with your son. You put him out of the house, and you believe that he should continue to make the mortgage payments on the house as per your agreement.
No.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
I am only asking for a mortgage, well, it's not just mortgage, it's household expenses for the month of August, which he lived in my house. That was August of 2001 was the last month that he lived in my house, and he did not pay anything.
Okay, so it's just for 1 month.
It's just for 1 month, and it's $1,500 for the household expenses because that was our agreement.
How much was the mortgage payment?
$758.
Okay. How much was the bail?
The bail was $1,000.
And you have proof of that?
Yes. I have a bank statement here where I took the money out of the bank.
No, I need the bail statement, not where you took the money out.
I could not find it. I looked and looked, and I could not find the bail statement. I don't know if he has it or what.
All right. And the second thing that you want is for verbal abuse, which you don't get paid for, because you're suing him for $4,000. Way over. Okay, and the mortgage payment is $758. Okay, let's get to the bail first. Tell me the circumstances surrounding this bail.
The bail was he was driving a car that was illegally licensed, and he got pulled over, and they took him to jail. And I can't remember if he had some other...
When was this?
This was in June of 2001.
Does that sound familiar, sir?
It sounds familiar in January, yes.
January of
Yeah.
2001?
No, it wasn't January. It was in the spring. The weather was beautiful.
Oh. Were you taken to jail, sir?
Yep.
Did you have bail?
Yep.
Where'd you get it from?
I have retrieved bail from Michael, a friend of mine. My mom has put up collateral for her house more than once, but just collateral.
No, I paid $1,000 and the collateral for that particular bail. The one he's talking about was for another charge that he was charged with, and his friend Michael did pay that bail for him because I had no more money to pay any more bail.
Why do you think your mother would lie about posting bail for you?
That's going to be the whole case. She's used her collateral more than once. I've asked her
More
to
than
use...
once for your bail?
Yep.
Well,
Yes,
how many
ma'am.
times have you been arrested, sir?
A few.
How many is a few?
A number?
Do you not... Are you telling me you don't remember?
Well, Your Honor, I've absolutely been in trouble. I haven't recently, but yes, I've been in a deal of trouble and asked her for collateral at least 4 times.
Okay, well, this time she says in June of 2001, she also had to post the bail. So if you can't remember how many times you've been arrested, maybe you don't remember who posted the bail all the time.
I remember exactly who posted the bail, Your Honor.
Well, who posted the bail in June?
Michael.
She said that that was in January.
No,
There was no arrest in June. I was only arrested in January. I went to the court
I
dates.
could
I
be
know
wrong
what the
with
date
the
is.
month. It was in the spring. Those two cases were very close together.
Okay.
And
Tell me, Mrs. Brown, did you get a call from your son from jail?
Yes.
Well, tell me about the phone call. Maybe that will
He
jog
just
his
called
memory.
and said that he had been arrested, then he needed to get bailed out, and could I get the money? And I said, yes. The money that I used was money that was supposed to stay in the bank. That's why I am asking for the money back, because the money was for something else.
What was it for?
It was for, we were going to do some work on the house.
Let me look at your statement. You say that you took out $1,000 so that you would have exactly when you took out the $1,000.
Well, this is showing up on my June, so that's why I said June.
Well, it would tell you the date in June.
6/4, $1,000.
Now, tell me exactly where you took this $1,000. Look at me.
I bailed him from a bondsman in Tacoma. I could not find that bondsman. I looked in the phone book and I made calls and I could not remember the name of that bondsman. I bailed him out. He went to court. And then, of course, you don't get that $1,000 back because that was the 10%.
Let's get to the house payment in August. Did you, in fact, live in the house in August, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Beginning of August until when?
Till, actually, I think it was after, it was more like the 1st or 2nd of September, I think.
And your arrangement with your mother was that you would take care of the household expenses?
The agreement of me buying the home was me buying the home, yes, and everything involved with it.
Did you pay for August?
The money for paying for the August rent was supposed to be paid on that Friday. Something had come up, I didn't get to it. That Friday night is the night that she came home and did her rampage and called the cops and kicked us out. That night, Friday night, assuming that I'd already paid, which I had not gotten a chance to pay yet.
But
So
it's due the beginning of August, not the end.
it gets paid, Your Honor. It gets paid every single month.
So your mother is correct that you did not make the $1,500 payment that you were supposed to make?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Is there any defense to that $1,500, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, she threw me and my son out in the street in the middle of the night.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You must have had some lollapalooza of a fight with your mother.
There was no fight.
You mean your mother went through a psychotic episode?
She does not like my son's mother.
That's not what happened at all.
And later today,
I don't remember. It was such a long time ago.
It's not so long ago in the scheme of things.
You know, I have the emails when I had gotten the order of protection, and...
Let's get to the money!
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandy Brown says her son Henry Brown owes for 1 month of household expenses. Henry says his mom threw him out on the street in the middle of the night.
Go ahead.
I came to give her the money for that mortgage the next week after she had told me I couldn't come around, told me I couldn't have my stuff, told me my son couldn't have his stuff, and I'd come to have a couple cars towed at her request, at which time the police were called by her.
Well, you must have had some lollapalooza of a fight with your mother.
There was no fight. I was at home with my son with my son's mother, with her daughter, and with my 13-year-old nanny when she came home at 10 o'clock at night and booted me out.
You mean your mother went through a psychotic episode?
She does not like my son's mother. That's been her issue for about a month before this happened. That was her only issue. We had a fight about her before she left, I think it was on a Wednesday, and she came home Friday evening, and her first words were, she has to leave, she has to go, she has to leave. And I told her, no, it's 10 o'clock at night, and she got on the phone, called the cops, and told the cops I had been abusive and everything else. I'm standing there with cooking utensils, cooking food.
Why did you put your son out, Mrs. Brown?
That's not what happened at all.
Well, what
we
happened?
had been having an argument that whole week.
About what?
I did want him to move out because I didn't appreciate him yelling at me, getting in my face, yelling at me. I did not appreciate him saying derogatory remarks about me. This is my home. I've lived here for 28 years, and I didn't feel like I had to put up with it. They had taken it upon themselves to move my furniture around. I did not yell at him. I said, Hank, I said, I don't want callers spending the night here. That's what I told him. And he just started yelling at me. And I said, okay, you need to move out. And he says, I'm not moving. I said, either you move, I'm going to go, or I'm going to call the police. He said, go ahead. So I said, fine. So I did. He had a warrant. He left so he wouldn't get arrested. 2 weeks later.
What did he have a warrant for?
I believe it's non-payment of child support. He has an older daughter. Then on that Monday, which was like the 3rd of September, I went straight to court and filed for a protection order.
Okay.
He came to pick up his cars. I called the police, gave the police a protection order. They served him, and he went to jail on that same arrest warrant 2 weeks later.
Not on anything that had to do with you?
No. Didn't have anything to do with me.
Okay. Did he ultimately get his personal property and his son's personal property from the house?
Well, yes, he did. And by the way, when we went to finalize the protection order, I told him then, I need your stuff out of my house in 2 weeks because I need to have a roommate move in with me because I can't afford this house by myself. He never came. Ultimately, I put his son's bedroom set on the deck. I told my son, tell him to come and get Hanky's bedroom set before it is ruined, because by then it was like the end of October. He never came.
Where was he living?
Around.
With his son?
With his son. He's still living around with his son.
Okay. Well, I don't have a counterclaim for that. And in any event, I find that you did, in fact, post his bail, $1,000, and he owes you $1,500, almost acknowledged for August of 2001. So I'm entering a judgment for $2,500. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This woman, out of spite, has put me and my son out of our home that we had a good faith agreement on.
The agreement was if I died, he could inherit the house.
Don't trust nobody.
I guess he thought I was going to die in 2 or 3 years. I don't know.
Legal assistant Robbie Gibbs is suing her former babysitter, 16-year-old Clarissa Thompson, and her parents Ethel and Paul Thompson. Robbie says, while babysitting her children, Clarissa ran up her phone bill. The Thompsons are countersuing for their daughter's unpaid babysitting fees.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 79 on the calendar in the matter of Gibbs versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Gibbs, the defendant's daughter, I assume this young lady.
Yes.
Is a babysitter for you.
Briefly, yes.
And your lawsuit wants her parents to pay for the following, because she's a minor.
Correct.
She ran up a phone bill from your house?
Mm-hmm.
So you want them to pay for the phone bill?
Correct.
And you want a return of the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Yes.
Because you say she was not a good babysitter.
Not exactly because she wasn't a good one, but more or less she was not attending to them.
Okay, that's your lawsuit. The Thompsons have a counterclaim, and the Thompsons want you to pay more for babysitting, because they say that you owe their daughter for babysitting. And they say that they also want punitive damages because they say that you were a bad influence on their daughter, which they will explain to me. So let's see where we can fix some responsibility here. What is your first name?
Clarissa.
When did Clarissa start to babysit for you?
Early February. I probably have an exact date in my calendar. Yeah, early February, like around the 9th, I believe, is the first time she babysat for me.
And how did you find her?
They lived above me in the apartment complex and had talked about babysitting and asked her to come over a few times prior to that.
Who did you talk to?
Clarissa.
Directly?
Yes.
So that all the arrangements that you made were with Clarissa?
Yes, ma'am.
And you arranged a fee?
Yes. After about a week or so, we decided that I would just go ahead and give her $30 a week because I was using her for an hour here
an hour there during the week.
So far, Clarissa, is that correct that she was going to pay you
No, it is-
$30 a week?
No, it is not.
Well, what was she supposed to pay you?
Well, she agreed to pay me $20 every time I babysat for her, which led to almost every day.
Really? $20 a day, even if you only babysat for an hour?
It was more than an hour. I would stay overnight sometimes because she would come home so late.
So starting the beginning of February, she started to babysit for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes, I started February 12th, actually.
Okay. Did she babysit for you in March?
Yes, she did.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes.
And you got paid?
Not really. She only paid me like once, and that was $60.
In all the time that you babysat
Yes.
for her?
Only $60.
Really?
Yes.
What about April? Did she babysit for you?
No,
in
ma'am.
April?
I received my first phone bill on March 24th.
And that's when you stopped the babysitting?
Actually, I had stopped babysitting about a week prior to that. I had come home and my 2-year-old had burned a popsicle stick on the stove. He said he was cooking it.
Okay. And how many weeks in total had she babysat for you?
Approximately 4 or 5.
How many weeks?
6.
Let's go through your book and figure out exactly how many weeks she babysat for
Would you like the book?
Yeah.
I didn't write down always when she babysat. I know I have the first few times written down.
She babysat every week for you after you hired her. She babysat for you for 5 weeks. Now, according to you, you were supposed to pay her $30 a week.
February 22nd was the first time I gave her $30. So I would imagine it would have been the first part of that week that we had made that agreement.
Well, then it's 4 weeks.
Okay, so
4
it's about a
weeks
week.
times 30 is $120. Now, how much had you actually paid her?
I've actually paid $140 because of the time prior to that.
So according to your records, you're all paid up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, tell me about the phone bill.
Clarissa would use the phone when she babysat, and from the very beginning I told her I did not have a problem with her using the phone, not to make long-distance calls. I'm a single mother. I don't have means to pay for long-distance. I don't use long-distance myself. I received my first bill on March 24th, I believe it was, that I put on there, and the long-distance charges for that month were $308.40.
Who were you calling, Clarissa?
It was an ex-boyfriend of mine at the time.
Did you know that that was the wrong thing to do?
When I first started babysitting for her, she told me that I had all privileges of the phone. She never told me not to make long-distance calls.
Well, did you make those long-distance calls in your own house?
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes?
Well,
did you ever get a phone bill for $300 a month?
No, ma'am.
No, of course not. Don't fool around with me, Clarissa. Don't fool around with me. Okay, so that's $308. Was that the total phone bill?
No, then I received one in mid-April for $31 in long distance, $87 in collect calls, and...
Was the boyfriend making collect calls to you?
No, he always called me direct.
So nobody called you collect?
No.
Does this have the number of the...
Yes, it does.
Is it the same number that she
No,
called?
ma'am, it's not. It's a Fresno number. When I asked Clarissa, have you been accepting collect calls from this number? And she says, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. And I have here $85 in collect calls. There's...
Well, she says she doesn't know whose those are, but it really doesn't make any difference.
They're not mine.
Let's say they're Clarissa's. Why should her parents be responsible for that?
Because she's a minor.
No, you're responsible for it. And I'm going to tell you why you're responsible for it. Because you have a mechanism where you can put on your phone a block so that you can't make long-distance calls.
I've never had a need for that.
Of course
I
you've
make
never-
long-distance occasionally.
Let me explain something to you. Your business arrangement was never with Clarissa's parents. Your business arrangement was with Clarissa. And if you want to ensure that things in your house are not abused, you have to take steps to do that. Her parents can't come into your house and do that. You have to do that. They are not responsible for the long-distance call made by their daughter in your house. You're responsible. You have to be prudent and vigilant, make sure that the phone isn't used, put the phone away, lock up the phone, disconnect the phone, do whatever you want to do with it. But there is no way that you are going to hold the Thompsons responsible for her calls that she made.
I had
not going to happen.
the agreement with her mother at one time, though, Your Honor.
I don't care whether you discuss an agreement with her mother or not. They're not responsible. You're responsible because they have no ability to see to it that in your house the phone isn't abused. They know how to do it in their house because her mother wouldn't tolerate it. Right?
Right. Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? How much do you think she owes you?
Well, see...
Give me an idea.
I say about over 600.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robbie Gibbs says former babysitter 16-year-old Clarissa Thompson ran up her phone bill with long-distance phone calls. Clarissa says Robbie still owes her money.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, he would call her directly when I was there.
So?
So I never had any clue that she was calling him or making
Neither
phone
did her
calls.
mother. Neither did her mother. You want to take care of your phone? Lock it in your drawer. It's not a mother's fault. And you'll know better next time. You hire a babysitter, you take out the phone. Or you put a block on it. You say you can't make long-distance calls. That's it. It's not legally responsible. And I can't find that her parents are responsible because you have the responsibility of ensuring that when you hire a teenage babysitter and you know that they sit on the phone and they can sit on the phone for hours, you make sure that they can't get to your phone. All right. Now, you want to tell me why you think you're entitled to any money back from the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Because she wasn't babysitting. She would go in my room and shut the door and use the phone. I came home on an occasion when that happened.
When was the first time you came home and
It
found
was
her?
about 2 weeks before I had her quit babysitting, and I told her she was not welcome at my home anymore. Her mother came down. We talked about it. Her mother assured me that it would not happen again. The following week is when I came home and my son had been burning a popsicle stick.
So? Then you fired her.
And then I fired her. Yes.
So why do you think you're entitled to anything back?
I just put it in there because I thought that I paid her for services that were not rendered.
You should have been more vigilant. If I came home and found my 2 babies weren't being cared for by a babysitter, I would say thank you very much. I'm paying you for the day. You're not welcome back here
Which
anymore.
is what I did.
No.
And then her
you
mother
had a
came down and
conversation
spoke
with
with
her
me.
mother, and her mother assured you it wasn't going to happen again. Come on. Get real. All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, if you're serious about it. You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? Why don't you tell me why you think you're entitled to more money?
Well, because I did babysit for the kids, you know, like, because most of the time she was barely even there. She'd send her oldest son to come get me at 6:30 after she got off work, and then she'd be gone all night.
How much do you think she owes you for babysitting?
Well, see...
Give me an idea.
I say about over $600, but
Really? You think over $600?
Yes.
Really? And you babysat for her each and every week?
Yes.
And you accepted the money she gave you, and you didn't say to her, no, you owe me more than $30 a week. I'm not taking the $30. You came back and you babysat for her again, another week, and then another week, and then another week.
She kept promising me, oh, I have to go to the bank, oh, I haven't got my check yet, or I haven't cashed it. That's what she had kept telling me. So
I'm just going to sit on the phone and talk to my boyfriend. Forget any more money. Chalk it up to the time that you were sitting on the phone in the bedroom, chewing the fat with the boyfriend. You got me?
Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. I was suing her for punitive damage because, actually, I don't want to do this.
Smart. Smart. It's her responsibility to take care of her phone. It's your daughter's responsibility to do the right thing if she's babysitting. I'm sure that you've had a chat with her about abusing the privilege of somebody else's phone. I have a feeling you have.
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right, Miss Gibb. Next time, you just be a little more careful, madam. That's all.
Please excuse. You may step out.
I was pretty upset.
I'm very sorry for Mrs. Gibbs, and I hope that she get her life together.
She said that she had permission. Her parents said, no, you didn't have permission.
They both played on the telephone.
Just let teenagers babysit anymore.
Not to babysit for people like her again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Grandin versus Baldwin. Step forward, please.
23-year-old student Tara Grandin is suing cleaning service owner Sherry Baldwin for breach of contract and negligence.
Miss Grandin, you hired the defendant's cleaning service to clean your home.
Yes.
And it is your claim that they were guilty of negligence, that they took some of your property, that is cleaning materials, and that they breached their contract, which is, I gather, the major part of your lawsuit, because you're suing them for $1,100. Is that right?
Yes.
Is this the first time you used their service?
Yes.
Okay. How did you find their service?
The Yellow Pages.
And I assume you have the ad from the Yellow Pages?
Yes, I do.
You want to show that to me, please? Because that's part of your, I assume that that's your breach of contract. Is that right?
Yes. I also have their webpage with their agreements.
Okay. Let me take a look at that. When did you hire them?
On Valentine's Day of this year.
And how large is your home?
I have a 2-story townhome.
What was the cost of cleaning it?
$50.
And how many people came?
2.
All right, so tell me what happened when they got there and what your problem is.
I explained to them what areas were designated as cleaning areas. They did not comply with that agreement by trespassing and using my private phone line to make a long-distance phone call without my permission.
And where did they call?
Compton.
And how much was that call?
It was only 7 cents.
7 cents?
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tara Grandin says cleaning service owner Sherry Baldwin owes for breach of contract and negligence. Tara says Sherry's workers damaged her belongings and used her telephone without permission.
What else?
They damaged my personal property.
Tell me about that, please.
This is my lighthouse candle holder. When they got there, I explained to them the items that were fragile and they needed to be careful with. I wanted this dusted. Well, after they left, I see that this is what dropped, and she had cleverly put it back together and just set it back as it was. And there's a bird right here. Well, there was also a bird right here, and that bird's gone. I can't find it anywhere.
And how much did you pay for that?
$50.
Do you have a bill?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
There's also a fax receipt stapled to that because I did fax her the bill, and it says the transmission was okay, but she denied ever receiving my 2 faxes.
Can I see that, please, Bert? Thank you. While I'm looking at that thing, tell me what your other problems were with them.
They did bring their own cleaning supplies, but they used mine without my consent.
What did they use?
They used my bleach and they used my Tilex.
So why are you suing them for $1,100?
She never returned my phone calls. She denied my original refund, as all I asked for was $50 for the candle holder. I didn't ask her for the money back for the cleaning. She said she'd give it to me. It never came in the mail. I contacted her a month later. She would not return my phone calls. I called her 10 times. She tricked me. It was not good customer
things to worry
service.
about? Don't you have a life?
This is my home.
Don't you have a life?
Would you want these people doing this in your home?
I have had people taking care of things in my home, and sometimes things have gotten broken or things have gotten chipped, and I haven't been thoroughly satisfied, so I don't use the service again.
I won't use them again.
Fine.
Your Honor, and
I'm asking you if you have a life. I mean, your lawsuit is for $1,100. I just put this together with a little tiny spot of crazy glue. I cannot even see where this is damaged. We're not talking about a piece of vintage china.
The principal...
We're talking... Don't talk to me about principle, madam. I'm asking you if you have a life.
Yes, I do, and I don't want this to happen to anyone else. And she should have told me that she broke it. She didn't.
Yeah, so she didn't tell you she broke it. She was afraid to tell you. She was afraid to tell you she broke it. She did not break a piece of museum-quality china. She broke a tchotchke that you got in the store someplace
I didn't get
for
it in the
$39.95. Listen to me, Bird. I'm asking you, and I want you to be honest with me. Because you know my eyes are not so good. How's that look to you?
It looks fine. I can't even see where you put the piece back.
Why would somebody not take a little bit of super glue, put it back if they love the candle holder, and say, maybe I can see a little bit of a line. Maybe when this lady gets older and she has lines of her own, the little line like this wouldn't make any difference to her.
That's character.
All right. Are you the lady who dropped this?
I didn't drop it.
Did the other lady drop it?
I'm not sure because I couldn't even communicate with her.
Why?
Because she was Spanish speaking only.
And it does state that they have English-speaking staff. I couldn't even give her directions as to what to do. She didn't know what I was saying.
Is that worth $1,100?
Your Honor, punitive damages should be awarded to punish the defendant for her wrongdoing, to show her that this shouldn't be done to anyone again.
You have to get a life. You have to get something important to worry about. You have to get something in your life that's important to consume your passion. This is nonsense.
It was a gift from someone who is now deceased, so it is important to me.
Listen to me. Fix it. If it's important to you, take a little bit of super glue that will cost you approximately less than the 7-cent phone call that you're kvetching about, and put a little super glue on it, and voila, it's fixed. You're going to get $50 for the cleaning service because satisfaction is guaranteed. And since you are really entitled to a 100% pure, perfect lighthouse tchotchke, you're going to get $50 for that. That's a total of $100. And my advice to you, you are a young woman. Find something to do to occupy your time. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have a perfect record from the Better Business Bureau. I have not had a complaint in 3 years.
She does have a complaint at the Better Business Bureau, and that's me. And I will never use her service again.
My word is everything. We service all of Southern California. We have a very good business with a lot of happy people.
I'm going to clean my own house.
Leasing agent Veronica Ramirez and her husband, Juan Ramirez, are suing the father of Veronica's children, bartender Eloy Garza, for filing false charges with Child Protective Services. The couple claims Eloy accused them of child abuse.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 25 on the calendar in the matter of Ramirez versus Garza.
Thanks, Bernie.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Ramirez, is it Ramirez?
Yes.
I'd like you to sit down, sir.
Thank you.
You and the defendant have 2 children together.
Yes.
Were you ever married?
No.
But you are now married to this gentleman.
Yes.
Your claim is that because of false charges that Mr. Garza filed against you, you were forced to incur substantial legal fees and debts. False charges with regard to child abuse. He filed those complaints with Child Protective Services. And you want him to reimburse you for all of the expenses that you incurred as a result of these false charges. Is that right?
Correct.
Mr. Garza says that he merely reported what he saw and what his children told him. Right now I'm going to need a time frame. When did you and Mr. Garza separate?
I believe it was in 99.
And how old are your 2 children?
6 and 4.
So they were really tiny. They were a year
Yes.
old and 3 years old.
About 3 years old.
When did you remarry?
December 16th of 2000.
And when was the first report of child abuse?
Back in 2000.
When in 2000?
In August of 2000.
All right, so let me go to Mr. Garza. Mr. Garza, when did you first make a complaint to Child Protective Services?
It was back in August 2000.
And what was the nature of that complaint?
Well, pretty much child abuse. My kids were talking about how their stepdad would, slap them or hit them or, in that nature. I have papers here from the Child Protective Services. The state
From August?
From May of 2001.
Well, let me take a look at it, please.
I also have police reports here and medical reports.
I see various letters. In some of the letters it says that they determined back in May of 2001 that the family, that is your family, does require our service at this time. I don't know whether they spoke to the children or not. So what you're telling me is in August, one of your children, probably the older one, was telling me that they were hit, but hit by the stepfather. And you reported that.
Yes.
What was the next report?
Well, after that, my youngest son, Isaiah, he came over and he went to the bathroom, and when he was urinating, he has a habit of he'll drop his pants down to his knees, and I noticed some bruises on his buttocks. And he had said that some ants had bit him. He was afraid to say it, so he had said that some ants had bit him. Finally, he came out and said that, that stepdad had, hit him with the black sandal, there was some bruises on there.
And did you make a report at that time?
Yes,
I
have
that report.
Medical reports from that, from the physician that saw him.
Can I see the report, please?
Yes.
Now you can stand up, Mr. Ramirez. Well, this second report was called in by the hospital, according to the doctor's notes, because the doctor found bruising noted to both buttocks on the child. Okay. Mr. Ramirez, did you, back sometime in 2001, hit one of the children, the older child, on the behind?
Isaiah, the smallest children, he was going through a lot of problems at daycare concerning when he would come back from his father's house. We tried disciplining him with timeouts, taking toys away from him, name it. It got to the point where we couldn't take it anymore. They didn't want him at the daycare. Took him home. I spoke to him. I spanked him. Next thing you know, I'm getting arrested because his father put charges on me. I got a paper here stating that...
No, I'm not finished yet. You spoke to him, and how old was he at the time?
He was 3.
Three. So he was 3 years old.
The daycare was getting ready to kick him out because they didn't want him there anymore.
He was 3. I'm speaking. He was 3 years old. So you spanked him.
Yeah.
With what?
With a belt, ma'am.
With a belt?
Yes, ma'am.
On his buttocks?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have to attend any classes, Mr. Ramirez, as a result of this investigation?
No, we had a homemaker come and give us parenting classes.
Well, that's parenting classes.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to have services as a result.
Yes, ma'am, but from an hour and a half classes, it dropped down to 20 hours because the homemaker found it wasn't necessary, that we didn't need those classes.
Well, you do need the classes. If you think that it's appropriate to beat a 3-year-old with a belt, causing bruises sufficient to be noted by a hospital, then you need a lot of parenting classes, more than an hour and a half. 3-year-old child who was going through a state of mother, father, new father, visiting one, there's a certain amount of acting out behavior. What you don't do is you don't use an instrument ever on a child. Ever. You used a belt on a 3-year-old. That is unacceptable. Period. End of discussion. It's unacceptable.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me very carefully. Your husband just admitted he beat your 3-year-old with a belt. He abused him.
Spanked, not abused.
Beat. Abused. You should have taken the belt and wrapped it around his neck.
And later today,
Miss Jones, you were trying to get over on the system, madam.
No,
That's
I
what
wasn't
happened.
trying to get over on
Sure
the
you
system,
were.
Judge Judy, because when I called there, they told me, don't bring the ticket yourself or we're going to take the money.
I wish you had the name of that person who told you that. I think that you probably ought to sue them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Ramirez says the father of her children, Eloy Garza, falsely accused her of child abuse. Eloy says Veronica's husband, Juan, hit his son.
Miss Ramirez, I don't have to go through this whole case anymore. I've just solved this whole case. You are suing for filing false charges against you. False charges of
Actually, the
abuse?
false charges and the custody hearing that we actually went through for the past 2 years.
Well, why do you think you would be entitled to legal fees from him for a custody hearing?
He sued me for custody of the children because of that incident.
Yes.
We went through about 2 years of a custody battle. It got to the point to where he decided he didn't want custody of the children anymore.
So?
He wanted me to agree not to move out of the city we were living in, and he wouldn't fight for custody. He wanted a social study done. We had the social study done. The lady came to the house. She did interviews on both of us. She did interviews on the children. In the social study that I have with me, she states that he seems lovable with the children. The children are lovable with him. She didn't see any problems with the family together. She felt that the children should stay living with me.
So?
We went to court. He had moved to Corpus because he was living in Corpus already working. He was away from us about 3 months. He put temporary orders on us not to leave the county. The judge spoke to the children to see whether they felt safe enough to move out of town with me to Corpus with him, or if they wanted to stay in Harlingen with their biological father. The children stated to the judge that they wanted to leave to Corpus with us.
Let me explain something to you. I don't know who this judge was who interviews a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old to make a determination as to where they want to live. I never did that with a 4-year-old. Where would you like to live? With your mommy or with your daddy?
We also have him right
Anna.
here. He states that he has evidence that there was abuse.
There was abuse.
When?
Period. There was abuse. I'm finding right here that there was abuse. And you have no case to sue him for filing false allegations of abuse. Your husband abused your 3-year-old. You should have taken the belt and wrapped it around his neck. That's what you should have done. And I don't know what other issues the defendant has with you. However, any father who would not at that point fight for custody would be neglectful. So he had an absolute obligation to file for custody of his 2 children. And then the thing dragged along for 2 years because this judge had to wait until the kids were 4 and 6 in order to interview them.
No, it didn't drag on that long. It dragged on that long because he kept putting it off.
Maybe. But I don't care what the social worker said. I want to tell you something. I don't care what the social worker said. It is irrelevant to me. The mother's husband beat the children, but the children seem happy and safe with the mother. Father never beat the children, so we think that the children should stay. We think the children should stay with the mother. I mean, I don't understand a report like that. In any event, I'm not having to decide that case now. All I have to decide is whether or not he should be responsible for the cost of all of your legal fees as a result of fighting both his custody case and the case that he filed and the orders that he requested, preventing you from moving out of the jurisdiction, relocating.
I also have a letter here from the police department where they took the children to the police department, and the police even put in here where they were trying to bribe the children to tell the police that they were being slapped.
Listen to me very carefully. Your husband just admitted he beat your 3-year-old with a belt. What do I care about the police report? Your husband looked at me. I asked him a question. He answered my question. He beat your 3-year-old with a belt. He abused him.
I spanked him, not abused him.
Beat. Abused. 3-year-old, belt, abuse. That's it. Marks from a belt on a 3-year-old is abuse. That's not neglectful. That's not neglectful. Neglectful is if you don't give them a hot lunch. Neglectful is not when you beat a 3-year-old with an instrument. So you are not entitled to the return of any of your legal fees matter.
In the Penal Code, Section 961 states that the state declines prosecution in this case. The defendant is allowed to use forceful to reasonably discipline a child under Section 9.61 of the Penal Code, and there is insufficient evidence to show any other intent by the defendant. That's
I hope you feel better. If you appeared before me and you said to me, I lost my temper once, and I hit him with a belt.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Wait, that's not what you're saying.
No, you asked me.
No. I lost my temper once, and I hit him with a belt, and it will never happen again because that's not me. I know that's not the way you're supposed to discipline children. But what you just read to me, sir, was an indication that you believe that this is an appropriate way of disciplining children.
No, it's not, ma'am.
It better not be.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Let me tell you something. You're not going to get the money from him.
Why? He signed me a promissory note stating...
I don't care if he signed you the Declaration of Independence. Courts do not help you when you try to scam the system.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Ramirez says the father of her children, Eloy Garza, falsely accused her of child abuse. Eloy says Veronica's husband, Juan, hit his son.
Ms. Ramirez, you have no case. The defendant did exactly what he should have done as a father by reporting what he saw. He did exactly what he should have done as a father by fighting for custody. He did exactly what he should have done by trying to prevent you from leaving the jurisdiction and relocating. And if he lost on all those counts, that's very unfortunate. But he had not only the right, but the obligation to do it. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think it went right.
Worked out good, I guess.
His false police reports, taking the children to the police department, filing false reports. I have all of that documented, all the false reports that he made.
Nothing else better to do, I guess.
I even have the reports where the police say that they were trying to bribe the children by telling them they would give them things if they said this.
So as soon as I saw, bruises going on, I knew I had to, get in and do something.
My children see him as their father.
They're little, 3 and 5,
So that shows what type of biological father their father really is.
He's never around.
No, I've been involved with their lives all the time.
I might have used excessive force, which I regret doing it.
Let the real parents do the discipline, not the step parents.
Be careful who you get involved with.
Go back to my country club and eat a po' boy sandwich.
Carrie Cargill is suing Joseph Simonet for car damage after Joseph's 15-year-old son hit Carrie's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 2138, Cargill versus Simonet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cargill, you and the defendant's son had an accident while you were driving your car, and Mr. Simonet's son was driving his electric scooter.
It was like a skateboard, a one-wheel skateboard.
Tell me your name.
Jacob Simonet.
Describe this vehicle that you were riding on.
It's got 2 spaces for your feet. Has one on the back, one on the front.
No, try to look at me. I'm trying to see you.
Oh.
There's
one in the
Go
back,
like this.
one in the front, and then there's a big wheel in the center. And you put your feet on either side, and then it balances, and you ride it kind of like a skateboard.
Oh, I actually
had a
have
feeling you
picture
might
of
need it.
myself riding on one of those for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We bought it for one of my grandchildren years ago, but it's motorized.
Yes.
It has a motor.
It's electric.
And how fast does it go?
Tops out at about 17 miles an hour.
17.
Yes.
That's pretty fast. Are you required to drive that on the street where pedestrians walk or where cars ride?
On the sidewalk with pedestrians.
Sidewalk.
Yes.
Do you drive it on the sidewalk?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever drive it in the street?
I do not.
Now you're going to tell me what happened on the date of this incident, which was August 17th.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going south after work, and I was going to crossing through the intersection. I had the green light.
Is there a chart?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I was crossing the intersection.
You're the blue car.
I'm the blue car. And I had the green, it was going, and Jacob had cut through on the red into the green and slammed into the side of my car. He had cut through the intersection.
So he was in the street where the cars travel?
Yes.
Not on the sidewalk?
Right. He was not in the walkway.
Okay. Jacob, I want you to walk up to that sign and show me where you were when you and the plaintiff collided.
I was about right here.
You were in a crosswalk?
Yeah, I was in the crosswalk coming through and about
Okay,
right.
is that what, Jacob, is that what the police report is going to indicate? That you were in the crosswalk?
I don't know.
Well, I assume that there is a police report. Is that correct? Police report's going to tell me where the debris was, I assume. The debris is either going to be in a crosswalk or it's going to be in the street. Where do you think it's going to be?
Some of it was in the street.
Show me the street that you're talking about.
About like right
No,
here.
put your finger on it. Don't go around where it's
About right here.
right there. That would be in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be in the middle of the street where the cars travel, not in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy.
Sure.
How old is he?
15.
15. I've had a whole bunch of those who are 15. You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
He's a pretty good kid.
All of my kids are pretty good kids. But you can always
Figure
tell.
it out, huh?
Yeah, you can usually tell. Is this your first only?
Both, first and only.
First and only. Oh, well, she probably had some experience with that anyway.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, and this happened at what time during the day?
I believe it was about 4, a little after 4:30.
So it was light out.
Yes.
You collided with her car on the driver's side.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, on the door of the driver's side.
The fender.
Fender.
Yes.
Side fender?
Yes, side fender.
Okay. Not the front of the car.
The front fender of the car.
Front fender of the car on the side. I'm talking about it was the side or the front?
The side.
Side. So you collided with her.
Yes.
Because cars don't move sideways.
Yes.
He could have been quite seriously injured.
Yes, he could. He hit the side of the car and he flew up onto the hood and then kind of rolled across the hood, hit my windshield, and then fell onto the ground. And when I stopped, he jumped up, appeared at my window, and apologized, and then asked me if I was okay.
What did he say?
Just said he was sorry. And then he asked me if I was okay. And then I asked him if he was okay. And then he asked me if I was okay. And it went back.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And which I was very impressed by, that he was more worried about me than anything else. I moved my car out of the road, onto the side of the road. There was an EMT that was across the street from us, and he came over and assessed him if there was any more damage. He got some road rash and things like that, but he was not seriously hurt, at least that we noticed at the time.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One witness said that he was right next to you and that you went past him and that the light was red. His light was red, which is why he was stopped. That's what I'm reading. He did say that his light was red when the kid initially passed in front of him. Did you get a copy of this police report?
I've seen it, yes.
Explain to me, would you put on this again and leave that one on because that's the version that I believe. Would you walk over there and explain to me what cut the corner was, what you were doing? It talks about cutting the corners. So I want you to understand, I believe that, based upon what I'm reading here, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to show me how you cut the corner.
So I was coming to this one, and I went through, and instead of going here and just going through the sidewalk, I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
What's cut the corner?
Cut the corner here, right there.
You mean just that little space is what you're talking about? You cut the corner?
Yeah, I went from about...
I want you to understand, I believe that you were in the street. I believe you were in the street, not in a crosswalk. So let's run through that again. Would you please show me what cut the corner was?
Went through here, I came here, and I cut here. So right there, I cut the corner.
He is a nice boy, Mr. Simonette.
Thank you.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17, but it was like a tank. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel.
And later today,
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won.
Before taxes or after?
Both.
Carrie Cargill claims Joseph Simonet owes for damage after his 15-year-old son hit Carrie's car while riding an electric skateboard.
Okay. The police determined that based upon the eyewitness testimony that the pedestrian, Jacob, is at fault and believed to have crossed the intersection before having the right-of-way. The vehicle had the green light. In any event, do you have photographs of your car? This happened in August, and you were called to the scene by your son, is that right?
Correct.
And you got there, you know that he was a little banged up, but thankfully...
He was in an ambulance when I arrived, but shortly after, yes, he did walk out of the ambulance and suffered some injuries, which I have pictures of if you'd like to see them.
I'm sure he was banged up. He had bruises from falling off the...
From being launched from the vehicle after the collision, correct.
Okay. You know, he was really lucky that she wasn't going faster.
Correct. Could have been much worse. We were
Could have been much
thankful for his health and the outcome of the incident.
You're right. Okay, can I see an estimate to fix your car, please? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of a car do you have?
A 2015 Equinox Chevy?
You had full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes.
But with a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
So if you put this through to your insurance, you have a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
Right? Anything else you want to tell me, Jacob?
No.
Do you still ride one of those things?
It's broken. I didn't get a new one, no.
It was destroyed in the accident.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. He bought me the oldest, ugliest car, but it was like a tank. All my other friends were getting these nice, cute little cars, and this one was like an old person's tank Cadillac or something. You know, we're talking 50 years ago. And I said, why do I have to have this car? Everybody else has cute cars. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel. That's pretty much the lesson that I've sent out there. 4,000 pounds of steel. One and only, surrounded by lots of steel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you, we're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I'm happy.
She had some fault due to hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
It was surreal, like out of the movies.
Your heart stops, and all you can do is look for the car keys and panic and get there as fast as you can.
I am so glad that he was okay.
I remember just flying through the air, and then I was on the ground, and I got right up.
Be very careful.
Count your blessings and enjoy every moment that you have, because things could change in an instant.
I know these electric scooters and skateboards are very popular, but even before this case, I tried to look up any rules, laws, regulations. There are a few for electric motorbikes and things like that, but far fewer than I would expect for a machine that can go up to 17 miles an hour when you're 15.
I think that you're right. I think that since those things have become so popular, there really have to be enforced rules. And parents, and this is a very nice father and son, but I've seen kids weave in and out of cars. It always looked like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. And this one could have ended in a real tragedy.
He was lucky, and his father knew he was lucky.
Shatanya Bentley is suing her sister, Kelvis Bentley, for moving costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2106, Bentley versus Bentley.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Miss Bentley, this is your sister.
Yes.
The case is relatively simple. Your mom passed away a couple of years ago. There was a house full of furniture that belonged to your mother. According to what I've read, and this is broad strokes, according to what I read, your sister, what's your first name?
Kelvis.
Put your mother's property in a storage unit.
Excuse me, it was already in storage.
Who had put it into storage?
My mom put it in storage. My mom was terminally ill, and she put it in storage 3 months before she passed away.
Is that correct?
Yes.
On what date did your mom pass?
November the 8th, 2018.
So it would have been in storage since August of 2018.
Correct.
From August till November, who paid for the storage unit?
I have been paying it.
And how much is it every month?
Right now it's $209, but it was $182 in the beginning.
What about $200 a month, and it's been 3 years?
Yes, I've been paying that every month.
This is what your case is about. You say that you gave your sister $900 for the purpose of traveling, getting your mother's things out of storage so that you could all disperse your mother's property.
Yes, but the amount is incorrect.
What's the amount?
I gave her $800.
Okay, $800.
Yes.
In order to get your mother's furniture to where you live, so that you could separate the furniture and the family could take what they wanted or needed of the property, correct?
That's correct.
Good. Then COVID struck. Your sister didn't use that money to travel, to hire truckers, to move the furniture, and you want that money back.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the whole case. Okay. Just for my own information, you do expect when that furniture arrives to be one of the beneficiaries of that furniture. That's what your sister says. She says that that's the plan once it all comes back.
That's not correct. I didn't want anything out of the storage but pictures.
Pictures?
Yeah.
Well, pictures of things.
Yes, that's it.
Pictures of what?
There's a picture of me and my mother. That's all I wanted.
Did you tell that to your sister?
Yes, I did.
Did she?
No.
How many sisters are there?
It's only 2 of us now. It was 4, 2 deceased.
Did your mother have any other property?
My mother has a whole 2-bedroom home in the storage. She has furniture, everything.
Other than furniture?
No. Clothes, pictures, yes, things like that, yes.
Is there any property in that storage unit that you want?
Well, I'm holding her stuff because it's sentimental. I mean, I can get it, I wouldn't mind having it, but it's really, she got a lot of sentimental stuff in there, so that's why I've been paying.
Furniture?
Yes, furniture, clothes.
Furniture.
Pictures, everything,
Okay.
Yes.
How far away is the storage unit from where you live?
It's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
How far away?
10-hour drive. We stay in Michigan, and the storage is in North Carolina, Charlotte.
Anybody that you know live there close to the storage unit?
My aunt and my cousin does.
And this picture that you want, do you know where it is?
It's in the photo album with the rest of the pictures.
And other than that one picture in a photo album, you don't want anything else, any of the other property?
No.
You two are the heirs, is that right?
We have a brother.
Does he have, as far as you know, any interest in any of your mother's property?
No. When my mom passed, it was me, my niece, and my older brother there at the time of death. And so he got everything he wanted out, and he gave me the key because I was the next to older one because she wasn't there. So he was like, so y'all do what y'all want to do with it. And so that's when I told her, I'll pay it until we go get it.
You said, I'll pay for the storage unit until we go and get it.
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like you to tell me about this money that she gave you. Do you remember when she gave you the $800?
She gave me the money, I want to say, May of 2020.
And can you tell me what the conversation was when she gave you the money? It was,
here is some money to go towards going to get the things, And so I told her, well, I'll find a way to go get it. I didn't never give her a designated time, but during that time, that was COVID, so no one was able to go. And so I was going to go this year because I just signed the papers to go and go get the stuff, but no one still was able to go. She never once said that this was money loaned to go get it.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, she had designated it to go and get the property.
Yes.
And you didn't use it to go and get the property.
I used it towards the storage.
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No.
The answer is no.
No.
So that's what her complaint is, that it wasn't used for its intended purpose, which was to go rent a truck, movers, and bring the property to where you both live. Okay, and she did give you $800.
Yes.
Okay, and Miss Bentley, you're prepared to sign a document that indicates that the only property you want from storage is a photograph of you and your mother that's in a photo album.
Yes.
That you want nothing else, that everything else belongs to either your sister or any other heirs that have a legitimate claim on any of that property, but you want nothing else.
That's fine.
Reasonable?
Fine.
Perfect. I'm entering a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800 with the proviso that the plaintiff will, in fact, sign that document indicating she wants nothing but one photograph from the storage unit.
I gave her $150 back.
Did she give you $150 back?
She did give me $150 back.
You paid her back. So she goes, you're $650. Judgment for the plaintiff, $650. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It was my mother's stuff. I just was trying to get the stuff. It was in storage for long enough.
We haven't talked in a whole year.
We're not close.
All she wanted is a picture. I give her a picture.
At least I got what I wanted.
We still sisters, still love her.
Those look like two nice sisters. And I think part of that problem is the intervention of COVID, which really turned everybody's life upside down.
Especially family units.
Family units, because I think that that was the intention, that she was going to pay for it to all be brought up, use that money, and then they would go through the property and decide who wanted what and what would be disposed of. It's not an egregious case of misappropriation of funds.
All well-intentioned, I think.
Well-intentioned. I thought it was a sweet case.
Angela Landy is suing her former employee, Alishani Wyatt, for stealing clients and breaching their employment agreement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2112, Landy versus Wyatt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Wyatt, when did you become an esthetician?
I was licensed as an esthetician in March of 2021.
Okay. Miss Landy, this is what your case is about. You hired Miss Wyatt for your business. You have a spa business. Is that what it is?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How long have you had the business?
I've been in operations as an S Corp since 2016. I worked for myself as a sole proprietor since 2009.
How many employees did you have in 2020 and 21?
In 2020, it was during the pandemic. We were shut down most of the time. In 2021, there was up to 5 employees, not including myself, Your Honor. It was 6 of us total.
Does that include Miss Wyatt?
It does, Your Honor.
When did she start working for you?
She started working for me in February of 2021 as a receptionist. I hired her as a receptionist.
Okay. Not an esthetician?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Were you going to school at the time?
I was not hired in February. I didn't get my license until March of 2021.
What the plaintiff says is you were hired in February. She probably has documents to work as a receptionist.
I was not hired. I didn't even have my license then.
Did you have any proof that you started in February?
Your Honor, I have proof that she...
Was she on your payroll?
She was on my payroll.
Okay, so that's
what we have document of in that is that she started brand new as a receptionist. Maybe it was in March of 21.
Okay.
I have my first paycheck stub.
I'd like to see it. Okay. This is a pay stub from April.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is your claim. Your claim is that when Miss Wyatt came to work for you, subsequently as an esthetician, which she was, because she counted her among your 6 employees in 2021, that she had signed a contract which provided for certain restrictions should she leave. You don't have that contract.
I cannot find it. It was supposed to be.
You don't have that contract.
Nope.
Miss Wyatt, when you went to work for the plaintiff, do you recall signing a document?
I do recall signing documents stating like what my job title was and like the documents that would go towards what we went over and things like that for training purposes.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have non-solicitation, non-disclosure agreement documents of employees. There's 4.
Okay. Is this an employee of yours?
No, it is not, Your Honor.
Ever? Was ever?
Never been an employee.
Were either one of those 2 people employees, former employees?
Tabitha Brown was.
Was this a former employee of yours?
Tabitha Brown was a former employee.
At approximately the same time?
She was an employee of mine for 5 years up until April 17th, Your Honor.
Did she voluntarily leave or did you?
She voluntarily left.
Okay. Did she voluntarily leave to go to work with the defendant?
I did not know that until the day the defendant left.
But ultimately you determined that she did?
Sure did.
Okay. She was with you for 5 years?
Sure. Yes.
I assume that if you have a business and you don't have this contract, which you allege if you could produce, had a specific non-compete clause in it, but you don't have it. She remembers signing something, but she doesn't remember exactly what it was. Can you stand up? Tell me your name.
Tabitha Brown.
Miss Brown, did you sign a contract when you went to work for the plaintiff?
Yes, I didn't remember that I did.
You did?
Yes.
But you did?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a copy of her?
I sure do. And
just a second.
Okay.
Do you have a copy of it?
I don't.
No. But you have a copy of what she signed?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor.
No. Just let me see the copy. I'm trying to reconstruct something just to get some general parameters of this case. Tabitha Brown, March 22nd, 2022.
Yes. Different.
Oh.
That is not the non-solicitation, non-disclosure agreement. That's a different agreement. Those are contracts she has signed.
Oh, well, you gave me two things. What is this?
One is her non-disclosure, non-solicitation, and also the second one is the role definition of an esthetician working for me.
Looking at the non-compete. Okay, this is pretty standard. Kevin, would you show this to Miss Brown? And I also want you to show it to Miss Wyatt. That clearly your signature.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And so that says within 1 year of your leaving Miss Landy's employment, you will not work in a related field within 7 miles from her current place of business.
Yes.
When you left her employment, did you go to work with Miss Wyatt?
We left to share. Yes.
The answer is either yes or no. So you did. You
Yes.
went to work with Miss Wyatt. And when you went with Miss Wyatt, that was sometime in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
What month?
May of 2022.
Your Honor, that's incorrect.
Shh. Don't. I'm not needing your help.
Okay.
In this case, you don't have a physical signed contract, so I don't see why you think that you have all documentation.
I don't have documentation.
That's what I'm saying.
Due to the fact that I believe she stole the information out of my filing cabinet.
I start to pinch myself to really believe it. You don't get better if you win all the time. You look at yourself more when you lose.
I'm thinking of my daughter today. I miss her so much. This is making me want to be more adventurous for her, definitely.
Yeah. If by the last episode true love is not achieved, Drama World will cease to exist.
What?
It's up to us to stop it.
Angela Landy claims her former employee, Alishani Wyatt, stole clients and breached their employment agreement.
Now, does Miss Wyatt have a location, a shop, a store, a place of business, or does she operate out of her residence?
We share a space.
You share a space where?
At a salon studios in Valencia.
Have you calculated the distance between that space and Miss Landy's office?
I have, ma'am.
And how far is it?
3.4 miles.
Well, you're not allowed to do that, pursuant to the terms of your agreement.
Correct. I don't have a copy of that agreement now.
Well,
I have it now, but at the time I didn't. It's from 5 years ago, and I never received a copy of that. So it was.
I don't know whether you received a copy of it or not. It's your signature, and it's pretty standard fare. Mm-hmm. It's not that it's not standard fare. So, Miss Wyatt, what I have to do is sort of put together whether or not I believe that you, in fact, had the same document that you signed.
Correct.
And I believe that you did.
Okay.
Despite the fact she says that you probably took it when you left. I can't describe that conduct to her. But this is pretty standard fare, that within 1 year it's not too onerous, it's not within a 50-mile radius, it's a 7-mile radius. 3.5 miles is certainly well within that. You could have found someplace that was 8 miles away, and then we wouldn't be in this difficulty. But you didn't. Anyway, so you were in violation of your contract when you left and went to work and shared space with Miss Wyatt. Okay, but you're not suing her.
No, ma'am.
Why?
Because I know the case would be dismissed because of the lack of solicitation between clients and of a former employee.
Well, not necessarily. Those two stand alone.
Your Honor, if I may say, there was a small claims action against Tabitha, but because there was no evidence.
What do you mean there was no evidence?
I had no evidence, the way I have evidence today with Alishani, that Tabitha solicited clientele.
Okay. Now you can sit down.
Thank you.
So that small claims case was dismissed?
Yeah, I have nothing there, which I learned. I have nothing to stand on what I have to stand on today.
Well, what you had to stand on, Miss Landy, which I don't understand, you had a non-compete agreement with her. She's in violation of that agreement. That's all you need. And she violated this agreement. She went to work within 7 miles of your place of business. So I don't understand that. In this case, you don't have a physical signed contract. I have to reconstruct whether I believe that there was one. So I don't see why you think that you have all documentation.
I don't have documentation.
That's what I'm saying.
Due to the fact that I believe she stole the information out of my filing cabinet.
I don't know whether she did or not. Right now, you say it's a lost document. You can't find it.
Correct.
Okay. And the defendant acknowledges, and it's usually custom and practice in the business, to sign a non-compete when you have that kind of service industry. Right. And I'm prepared to accept judicial notice of the fact that when you go to work for a beauty salon or a hair salon or a spa, you develop a clientele within the spa. You can't open up a store next door and steal the clients. Most people have people sign this, and you did, and you had it done 5 years ago. So Ms. Brown is in violation of this contract.
That is correct.
Why somebody dismissed that, I don't know. I have no idea. Okay. So now you're going to demonstrate to me that Miss Wyatt solicited clients of yours.
Yes,
Show me.
Okay. In July of 2021, Alashani was trained to be an esthetician.
Let's not go back to ground zero. I'm not interested. I am assuming for the purposes of this hearing that she signed a non-compete clause, just as Miss Brown did. So let's start from there, and I asked you a very simple question. I said, what proof do you have that she solicited clients when she left?
Your Honor, my solicitation is here.
Fine, I'd like to take a look at it.
And my witness, Kennedy, is here as well.
Well, let's go to Miss Kennedy. Was Miss Kennedy a client of yours?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you stand up, please? Your first name?
Kennedy. Kennedy.
Last name?
Johnson.
Ms. Johnson, how long had you been a client of Miss Landy's spa?
I want to say about 2019, Your Honor. I was there before the pandemic and was there for a while before it shut down due to COVID.
Were you there after it reopened?
Yes.
COVID. What kind of work do you have done there?
I get sugared, which is using sugar, lemon, and I believe it's honey and water, and you mix it together and it takes hair off of you.
And who did that for you?
I went through many of the clientele and the employees at Angela's shop at the time. So there were several people that, Alicia was one of them, as well as Tabitha.
How many times did the defendant do the waxing? Sugaring.
I want to say at least 5 times.
Do you recall when she left Miss Landry's?
I do not remember the date. However, I do remember getting a call from her company. I got a call saying...
From Miss Landry's company?
Yes.
Yes.
Your Honor, it's Landy.
Landy.
Yes, from Miss Landy's company. They had called me on my cell phone and told me that she was no longer there. And they had told me she was no longer there.
You can't tell me what somebody from her shop told you. That's hearsay. I want to know about the solicitation. If there was.
Yes. So one point while Alicia, the defendant, was there.
Sorry. Do you understand?
Yes. While the defendant was there, I had gotten sugared on my face. It was a small patch test, excuse me. And after she had texted me, gave me her personal number and told me if I had any reaction to text her and let her know. After I texted her, I had...
And this was while she was working for the plaintiff?
Yes, that is correct.
Go ahead.
And as a while, I started having a small reaction, and I had texted her and sent her a picture of my face and told her that I was starting to have a small reaction. I did not receive anything back for a little bit, and then I want to say around April, late March.
Well, when did you text her?
This text for the face patch was earlier, I want to say early March, maybe February.
Do you have the text?
I believe she gave it to you.
The third one, Your Honor.
What date did Miss Wyatt leave your employ?
April 22nd is when I got her immediate resignation.
April 22nd, 2022. And is this what you're referring to? Hey, Kennedy, I forgot to tell you, if you wanted to book with me again, I could put you in my books. I'll be in Valencia.
That's correct.
And is Valencia where your shop is?
3.2 miles away, Your Honor.
No. Answer my question. I have a question. Is Valencia where your shop is?
No.
That's my question. Why don't you just answer my question?
Okay.
Tell me what she told your attorney. Do you understand?
Even if I have an affidavit?
Is your attorney in the military?
No, I just have a notarized affidavit.
From whom?
My attorney.
Her? No, I don't take affidavits from attorneys. It's ridiculous.
Business owner Angela Landy has accused her former employee, Alashani Wyatt, of taking her clients and breaking their agreement.
So Valencia is not where your shop is. Valencia is where your place of business is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you left on the 22nd. Is that correct?
That's correct.
On the 20th, 2 days before, you tell Miss Kennedy, because I assumed that this was a planned move of yours, that she could reach you again at your new place of business in Valencia.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, you're not allowed to do that.
During the services, it's a very intimate service, so you start to gain a relationship with these clients. And through that time, I felt like I had gained a relationship. It wasn't just a client with Kennedy. So
You met her
Yes.
through the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
You started to work on her through the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
She had other people work on her other than you.
Yes.
She may have liked you better than the other people. That doesn't diminish the fact that you knew that you weren't supposed to solicit clients. You knew that. I believe that you knew that.
Yes.
Because that's standard fare. So your excuse is you thought you developed a personal relationship with her.
Correct, Your Honor.
How many other people did you develop a personal relationship with?
Majority of the clients that I had who were returning clients of mine, I felt like I had built personal relationships with.
If you're potchking around with somebody's face or scrubbing their body or giving them a scrub to get hair off on every part of the body, then you develop an intimate relationship with somebody. Now, your first name is Kennedy?
Yes.
Kennedy, did you ever go out to dinner with Miss Wyatt?
No, I did not.
She ever invite you to her house?
No, she did not.
Was the only time you ever saw Miss Wyatt while you were having a service?
That is correct.
You see, that's not an intimate relationship. That's just stealing clients, Miss Wyatt.
Okay.
So my question to you is, you're seeking damages, okay? Did you seek injunctive relief?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I didn't know about injunctive relief. In addition, because of the staff leaving, because of solicitation, admitted solicitation by Alishani to my attorney, and I have a sworn affidavit for that. Because of that, I ordered them a cease and desist, and they ignored the cease and desist. Alishani told my attorney that she did not
No, you can't tell,
solicit
Bob. You
hearsay.
can't tell me what she told your attorney. Do you understand?
Even if I have an affidavit?
Is your attorney in the military?
No, I just have a notarized affidavit.
From whom?
My
From
attorney.
Her? No, I don't take affidavits from attorneys. It's ridiculous. Are you still in operation, Miss Wyatt?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many people work for, with, or to you?
It's just me. I have my own personal LLC, and she has her own personal LLC, so none of our money is combined.
Miss Wyatt, how many of your former clients from Miss Landy's business followed you?
I would say a good portion. I don't have an exact number.
Yes.
Here you go.
No, just tell me.
I would say at least...
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't want you to say I would say at least. I assume you have names, people.
I have names and people here.
How many of your clients
20.
went to Miss Wyatt?
20.
Not was solicited. Follow me very carefully. Not solicited by her, but actually left your business to go with her.
Actually left my business to go with her.
20.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see. Does that sound right, Miss Wyatt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then I don't have to see. She says that that's about right.
Your Honor, I would also like to add that after I left, she did send out a mass text allowing all of the clients who had ever seen me to be aware that I was no longer there. So that also allowed more clients to reach out to me in different aspects.
No, my dear, you made the mistake.
Okay.
You made the mistake by opening up an office within a 7-mile radius, which you can't do.
Okay.
You solicited her clients. I thought maybe just 1 or 2, but 20, that's a lot of clients. 20 recurring clients is a lot of clients. Miss Landy's request in her small claims case is the maximum of the jurisdiction, which is $10,000. And I think that she deserves every penny of that.
Okay.
Because what you did was wrong and a breach of your contract with her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
And I have to tell you something. That's ongoing.
Okay.
Just so that you're aware.
I felt like the work environment was very unstable.
I have so many people to testify, including employees, that it's not a hostile work environment.
And I was constantly anxious there.
I was doing so much to improve the quality of the business by changing policies and procedures.
I had to do what was best for me and my family. I'm a single mom, so
hiring a business coach, working with an HR team.
Let the better business win, I guess.
The better business has won.
I was a little bit confused. Maybe you can shed some light on it for me. Why the plaintiff wouldn't sue for injunctive relief, because injunctive relief is suing not so much for damages, but to get someone to stop doing something. So in this case, it seemed to me that the proper ask, per se, would be injunctive relief to stop the defendant from operating her business in violation of her contract. But she didn't do that. She sued for damages instead. And I just think that this same problem could keep happening, that I think it's a good lesson for people to educate themselves or hire a lawyer to find the proper relief. Because what's to say that this is going to stop today? I'm sure she'll keep seeing the 20 clients.
Well, she's going to keep seeing the 20 clients. This judgment today was more compensatory than punitive, because if she had taken one client with her, well, she's in violation of the contract, and some token violation would have been appropriate. But she took 20 clients with her.
I got the feeling from you that you weren't exactly in line with the $10,000 number until you heard
Until
about
I heard
20
the 20.
clients.
I mean, that's really
whole business,
some
really.
sort of chutzpah to knowing, and I believe she absolutely knew, she was a smart cookie, knowing that you had a non-compete, because her friend, who she also took with her, had the same documents signed in 2017. So, and she's clearly a businesswoman, so that would be a consistent practice of hers. I don't know who took